innovations, we gotta wait. What? Took a little minute, was patient, but now we take it. Anytime we want this game, my situation is entertainment intertwined with information. Alchemist soul, how we move the tassel and roll. It's amazing how we can turn something brass to gold. And we steady making hits. Architect with the prop in the scripts. It's logical that the product will flip. My boy Chef did the lineup, I'm fresh in the bitch. Carnivorous podcast, the newest show on the list. DQ on the boat, so I'm rocking the ship. Squad the music gon' be dope and the artist legit. Hold my beard, concrete cord, then stepped in the door. See, that's my man and he reppin' for show. And true savior's a player with flavor. Lexicon tailored, lines on point like a laser. We need that paper, we building the vault. Cause you niggas don't listen, y'all be waiting to talk. Lack accountability and try to make it our fault. But opposing us is trying to arm wrestle the hawk. You coming up short on your re-up, nigga we up. Really wouldn't want to be up. I kick my feet up. My beef is wagyu and my trunk is all speakers. Bills is all blue and my blunt is all reefer. With possible deniability, that boy eater. High quality whack juice by the liter. They like to call us ops, we got Oppenheimer features. That's the bomb out on the island just to teach you.
What up, though?
All right.
Tri Media back in the building. Fired up to bring y'all some information. I think a lot of times people think that we sit around, we come up with shows, like we do this all the time. A lot of times we just bring our private conversations from the Discord live. And I've had to listen to countless days, more than I can number, between Logic and Hits, talking about the birth of hip hop, when it started, and all of that. And like I said, I'm a novice in this hip hop thing, so I wanted to bring in the expert, True Savior. I know he don't like people calling him an expert. See, look, I knew that. I knew what that would. I knew what that would bring. I did that on purpose. I wanted to bring Truth in for his perspective, his educated perspective per se, because he studied it, he's had conversations about it, he's done numerous shows on it, and I'm gonna let the brothers introduce themselves, and then I'm gonna set the premise, and then we're gonna hit the ground running. So, shouts out to my man Corey, shouts to Carnivorous Podcast. If y'all get in y'all feelings, I ain't talking about y'all on the panel, but I'm talking about y'all in the chat. If y'all get in y'all feelings behind some of the stuff we said, y'all got in y'all feelings. That's on y'all. That's not on us. If you start clutching your pearls and being all upset and all of that, that's fine. But I want to hash this out. So I'm going to let y'all introduce yourself, and then I'm going to introduce the premise of the show. True Savior, you go first, boss. Introduce yourself.
Well, you just did. I'm True Savior. Like I said, I've been talking about hip hop for at least 2 years in terms of on social media. Like I said, I'm not an expert. I just studied it. I'm old enough to know a little bit about the culture because I grew up not in New York, but Newark, New Jersey, next to New York. And hip hop, to some degree, was also birthed in New Jersey. So there's a connection there. But beyond that, it's basically studying the years in a way in terms of research. And that's how I come to my conclusions about the history. And so for the record, I remember when Braz told me to come on this particular episode, and I read the title, and it said, it may not be coming from FBA. And a friend of mine called me up and said, "True, don't tell me you're not for FBA. I want you guys to know I'm FBA all day." So with that, I'll turn it over to everybody else.
DQ. I know we kind of, when we have these hip hop conversations, we kind of just fall back, just listen and learn as best as we can. So and oh, by the way, I'll be remiss if I didn't say we're streaming live on Truth Savior and on Tri-Media Innovation 0124. So y'all can definitely follow both channels. If you're watching here, go follow Truth's channel. If you're watching there, come over here and follow us. We don't really care where you watch it. So DQ, talk to the people and give like a couple of thoughts.
What's good, everybody? Hope everybody having a blessed day. Peace to the panel. I feel like it's gonna be a great conversation. You know, me being active member of hip hop right now, I just sit back and watch. You know, they're talking about the essence of it, the history of it. You know, with me being younger, I just sit back and watch and learn. Just a second, fire truck is passing by. But one thing that I have been doing is I'm documenting all this. I'm actually putting all this into a collective of tracks from the different conversations we've been talking about, from the Latin involvement that people would say from it, from the different cultural shifts, from all the different arguments. I actually think this would be dope to be capitalized over music. So that's my little secret thing I'm doing while ingesting all this information from the people. But yeah, salute to everybody. Salute to Truth Savior. Tri-Media Innovations. Let's make it work.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna let Hits go last. Logic, what's going on, G? Talk to the people.
Man, what's up with everybody, man? Up here ready to have a good time, have a good conversation. You know, I know good and well that I can't solely rest hip hop in the arms of FBA, but I guess we're gonna get into that when everybody get ready to share their screen. You know, I'm a proud Black American. Definitely wouldn't consider myself FBA, but I'm a truth seeker, and I think that's what's important to whatever it is that we're really trying to accomplish. If it ain't true, it ain't real, and if it ain't real, you really ain't got nothing. So let's at least, based on whatever we got, on the truth. That's where I want to start.
Okay. And last but certainly not least, my man Hits. Go ahead, brother.
What's up, everybody? Peace to the chat. Thanks for tuning in. Like Brad said, this is, you know, some of the conversations we have in the Discord over whatever topics may be happening throughout the world or in the community. And this one is generally based on the dates. We're not necessarily going to argue. I don't think we are, because that show would be too long, and just go over some topics that we already discussed. But we're going to look into some dates, historical dates that a lot of media claims when and where hip hop started, by who, what some of the participants say about it, whether they agree or disagree, and if they think it's up for discussion or not. So these things are, I think they're important for the community. 50th anniversary of hip hop not too long ago, so definitely a trending topic. So that's it. Let's go.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and set the premise right now. So the other day we was talking, and I, my thing is I always challenge somebody. I guarantee you won't say it live. So we were having a conversation about hip hop. We were having a conversation about when did it start and this, that, and the other. Now I remember in the first conversation that hip hop, when we were discussing it originally, I found it funny that immediately they threw out the pillars. Now, before that show, all they talked about was the pillars, the pillars, the pillars. It's not hip hop if you don't have the pillars. And as soon as it didn't fit a date per se, then they threw out the pillars. But I was okay with that because, stuff like that happens all the time. But then I was talking to Logic and Hits the other day, and they literally had hip hop starting in the 80s. So I know they just celebrated the 50 years of hip hop. I got my questions. I'm going to ask the panel. We're going to go around. And then, but the main thing that I want from the panel today, let me take, this is the flyer. Who's the father of hip hop? When was it born? 60s, 70s, 80s. Shout out to my man, The Enemy's Public. He'll say that it started, that it had some, you know, they leave New Jersey out of it. Shouts to Kool Herc, supposedly 1973. That was the beginning of hip hop. Grandmaster Flash got something to say. 1520 Cedric Avenue in the Bronx, FBA got something to say, and then the Latinos got something to say. So I want to leave this show hopefully with some agreement on, at a bare minimum, that it wasn't 1973 1520 Cedric Avenue in the Bronx. Shout out to Robert Rand. I know you in the chat. You know, drop your email. We've been looking to have a conversation with you. So now we're going to move forward. So, Truth Savior. I just want y'all all to start with a baseline, then we move forward. In your opinion, when did hip hop start and by who?
Well, that's a, you know, believe it or not, that's a kind of a tough question because it depends on how you define it. But let me give you a good thing to think about. We know that the 70s was defined by someone named Bambaataa, he defined it in the 80s and retroactively assigned it for the 70s. I have a problem with that, and I'm gonna give you a good example why. I don't believe you could retroactively put a name on something that happened years earlier. That's the first problem. Let's take, for example, the Civil Rights Movement. The Civil Rights Movement was called that at the time. So there's no confusion as to the dates of the Civil Rights. It wasn't assigned retroactively. So when you talk about hip hop, when it was born, I could, believe it or not, consider it was named in the 80s. You almost have to go with the 80s because it wasn't hip hop in the 70s. And I know that might ruffle some feathers.
Say that again.
It might ruffle some feathers to say that there was no hip hop in the 70s. But so if you want to say hip hop was created in the 80s, you could say that, given that's what it was officially named. You could say it because there was no flyers that said hip hop. A lot of flyers said disco. And I think it's referred to that before. In his presentation, I heard him one time said that. So if some of the groups were called disco this, disco that, and some of the events on the flyers were called disco, it's kind of hard to call it hip hop in the 70s. So you can almost make the argument, yeah, it got to be the 80s because that's when it was called. You can't retroactively assign a name to something in the 70s. So that's my overall premise or belief.
So what is it? Okay, but I will be remiss before you're done. If you had to put a date on it, because I'm gonna leave y'all dates or date range on it. What date or date range do you state based off the stuff that you've looked at? I'm not asking anybody on the panel to be experts. It's just for me, as a political science major, I need something to be a date, something to have a date, a time, not a time per se, but a date or a date range. Because if they're having celebrations that are 50 years of hip hop, then it has to go back to us. It has to start at some point. And they're starting at 1973. They just spent millions of dollars on all these parties. So what do you say hip hop started? When do you say?
Well, I'm going to be honest. I can't give it an actual date. I really
or a
can't.
range. I could take a range.
I put it like this. If you go by the definition of, I know a lot of people have different definitions. They call it, when did hip hop start or when did hip hop culture start? Mm-hmm. So when you look at the term hip hop culture, then that immediately involves the so-called 5 elements. All right. So if you want to be particular in your definition of what is hip hop culture, and you think about all the elements that's a part of that particular culture, then you're saying 77, 78. You're saying that because that's when basically everything was, evident. However,
so you're saying 77, 78.
I mean, if you have to give a starting period, Yeah, given the definition of hip hop culture. You follow what I'm saying? I personally don't even want to call it hip hop in the 70s period. That's my personal belief. But because of how it's been defined, you have to almost start at 77, given that's when well, even though they were so-called MCs before rapping actually really started, but people identify the rapping era as the beginning of of all that 5 elements. So you would probably have to say 77 if I had to give a year. But again, I'm hesitant to do that, given that I don't believe you can retroactively assign a term to a particular decade that there is no mentioning of hip hop at all in the 70s.
Okay. Logic, you were making a lot of faces while my man Truth was talking. I think it was unfair. I think it was beneath you to do. When do you say hip hop started? First, I want to give a date. When do you say hip hop started? And matter of fact, shouts to the chat. We'll answer some of y'all questions and participate in a second. When do you say hip hop started, Logic?
Nah, I mean, I was just very surprised at how much I agreed with True Savior at that time. I was expecting him to not give an inch, and he gave half of the planet. Like he gave a lot of ground, and it. Okay, so now I'm not answering the question. So
answer the question.
So I'm going to say 79 with Keith Cowboy saying hip hop on the album on the record.
No, I didn't hear you. Logic, you say it started in 1979 when
I'm gonna say 1979 when Keith Cowboy actually uses the term on a rap record. I'm gonna say 79.
Okay, and you're saying it because that's the first time that you heard the term.
Right. I'm gonna say there's significant that you hear it on that rap record because to me it speaks to there being some term floating around in some circle, right? It had to come from somewhere in order for him to use it, right? And even if he makes it up, right, it's at least it wasn't like he used it and then defined it. Like people kind of just got what he was already talking about. So there's some layer of familiarity, even if it may not be like a national phenomenon. It at that point to me it would appear, and I'm definitely guessing at this point, it would appear to be something that people were locally familiar with, at least familiar with enough for him to just say hip hop, and people would not be like, "Dang, what's that?" So.
All right, I think I want to pull up this one comment. This is hilarious. It says, "We all know hip hop was started by a bunch of big girls in the." Sometimes the comments I got, and then shout to Robert Rand. Robert Rand says, "King Tim, the 3 came out before that 1978 Fatback Band.
The third.
Oh, King Tim the 3rd. Okay, see how much I know. Thank you. And then Robert Rand, bro, you got to give us your email or something. We got to do a show with you. I've seen him on so many different panels, have conversations. It's crazy. But China's saying that it started in 78. I told her to source it up, and she says she'll do that for me. All right, so you're saying 79, and no one has said 73 yet. So come on, Hits. When did hip hop start, in your opinion? When did it start?
My bad, I was on mute. Hip hop culture or the term?
No, don't add no words to it. Yeah, I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing.
I'm clarifying question, Your Honor.
No, I'm just saying the birth.
Oh, I was going to do it first too.
Yeah, the birth, because I didn't let Logic do it. So the birth of hip hop. So basically, listen. They say hip hop started on 1973, 1520 Sedgwick Avenue. That birth, whatever that is, what is your birth?
If we're going by that context, I say it started before then. The culture, but the what's popular, say the term, would be probably 1980, early
Are
80s.
you going with 80 or just the 80s?
I'm going with the 80s. I no, well, not the 80s. I'll go with early 80s just to not sound like everybody. You know, I feel like this the price is right. They bid 100, I'm bidding 101.
It kind of
I'm bidding
is a little low.
$101. Yeah. So I'll go 80. I know nobody
So
wants
like
to go
80, 83.
but you know, we're gonna have further discussion later. So chat, don't worry about it. I got y'all. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, they cussing y'all out. I'm going right to the chat. And then now
hold on, I wasn't done though. And you
okay,
know what?
go ahead.
Hopefully, you know, these conversations end up back to where, you know, I think hip hop was for a lot of us, you know, something we enjoyed doing. It was just something we grew up doing, something we were part of, and not necessarily all the negative aspects of it. And hopefully we don't add to that with these discussions, the negative aspects of it. So that would be my ultimate goal. So chat, just hang with us.
Now, I find it very funny that no one on this panel said 1973. No one, not one person. Yet, that's what, and this is what I'm talking about. As a person that's trying to learn, all of those 50-year anniversary parties and all of that were based in and around that date of 1973. All of them. All of those parties, all of those events, all of that. So I'm going to share my screen. Peace to Cool Herc.
Born in Kingston, Jamaica, a kid named Clive Campbell immigrated to the Bronx at the age of 12. There, he gained the nickname Hercules for his style of play on the basketball court. Then he became obsessed with DJ. Hercules turned into DJ Cool Herc. Cool Herc saw the clubs filled with violence or catering only to those who loved disco. He heard radio catering only to white teenagers and decided he could throw a better party. Herc got the music. His sister Cindy brought people. Shout out to Cindy. And they threw some parties for the school money. It's during one of those parties when Herc debuted his merry-go-round technique. He would take the break or a short segment in a song with no vocals but heavy percussion. He could create a loop. It went crazy. People could dance to it. He called those people B-boys and B-girls before breakdancing had a name. Then he starts rhyming on the break. Simple stuff. Are you ready? Rock steady. But folks go crazy. And that's how Cool Herc invented hip-hop. Born in Kingston, Jamaica.
Now, y'all are saying that y'all disagree with that. So, I'm going to go to the chat real quick. Peace to the chat. We got a bunch of people in here. Akeem, 1973 had bigger control of the media narrative and spoken into existence. Davion is saying it correct. Robert Rand is saying it correct. DJ Biggs. Are they talking about when the term hip-hop was coined or because I'm lost? No, we're talking about not the terms. We're not talking about the terms. That was just Logic's answer because that's the first time he heard the term. We are saying, just so we're clear, what, Logic? Right.
My bad. Yeah, I need to clear that up, right? It's not Keith Cowboy. It's the Rapper's Delight, 79.
Okay, Rapper's Delight. Okay. So, what we're saying is, well, I'm saying hip-hop, all of these things were started based around 1973.
Hold on. Keith Cowboy is not in Rapper's Delight. Those are two different groups.
I had to clear it up.
No, Keith Cowboy.
I knew the song.
Flash and the Furious 5.
I understand.
The Sugar Hill Gang is Rapper's Delight. Those are two separate groups and
Correct.
All separate people. Go ahead.
Correct.
You have officially, that's strike one in the conversation, Logic.
Go ahead.
Screwed up Keith Cowboy and Rapper's Delight. Now I don't know how big of a strike that is.
I ain't old enough
it seems
to
to
have
be a pretty big strike.
Hitch should know all of this, right?
I got you. But you trying to walk your way out of this. Let me finish.
No. People jumble stuff up all the time. There's nothing wrong.
Right. So that's like saying that Busta Rhymes was in NWA, I'm assuming. So that's strike one. I'm keeping a list of strikes of your mistakes. Now, I do got one question for you, Logic. This will really get the Roman arena in a fervor.
Yeah.
Now the question is, who? Now we got the time frame of when. Now I got the question of who, because on the flyer I said it was definitely not 73 and it definitely was not FBA. Are you also saying that hip hop was not started, not only not in 1973, but that it was not started by FBA or FBA solely, who started hip hop. Give me at least the top 3 groups, or if it's just one group that started it, then say that. But who started hip hop?
The Bronx started hip hop. Right. I don't think narrowing it down to one particular group tells the whole story. Because I think it comes out of an environment. Right?
You see it, you a slick boy, you nice,
because you know what, you also can't forget the people who don't make it, right? You know, some of those people participate, some of those people are actually relevant. You know, the competitors, you know, they play a role too, right? Just because they weren't signed, just because they don't become famous, doesn't mean they weren't there, doesn't mean they weren't participating, so on and so forth. So that's how I'd answer that question. Like, to tell the whole story, you know, you kind of do need to include some of the little kids at the park that don't have a name, that are out there freestyling, breakdancing, or whatever it is that they're doing. They do play a role. So,
did hip hop start solely by the FBA?
Absolutely not. If that's what you want to, no, it didn't. It couldn't have.
Listen, I just want to let y'all in on something. See, in our private Discord chats, we got Eazy-E and Al Capone and John Gotti. We got all these gangsters that say all of this stuff. And my first response is, you won't say it live. Logic, I'll take back the first strike, because I didn't think you'd have the heart to say that FBA did not start hip hop in 1973. I will give you credit for saying that it was in 1979. So if FBA did not create hip hop in 1973, you're saying that it was created in the Bronx in 1979, then who created hip hop in your estimation in 1979?
I mean, that's not a fair question. I mean,
fair is a place where they judge pigs and eat corn dogs.
Literally,
that's not. That's not.
The flyer. Listen, hold on, stop. The actual flyer isn't about the date. It says, hold on, let me finish. TMI, Truth Savior presents who really birthed hip hop. That's literally the show.
What else is on the flyer?
Who? It's not 1973 and it's not FBA.
You got 3 decades on the flyer too, so it's about dates also. Go ahead.
Okay, no, I agree. So we got the dates. Now I want to go who birthed hip hop.
I think I mean, look, I understand the question, but it would be like saying who birthed Black culture, right? You're not going to narrow this down to one particular person.
I didn't say one. I didn't say one. It doesn't have to be one. Just
well, I gave you the answer. I said it was the Bronx.
No, that's where. I said who.
That's the who. The Bronx did it.
that's very slick. So then I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna help you all. I'm gonna help you out real quick. So you're saying that all of the cultures within the Bronx are the people who started hip hop. Don't start sweating now on the testify stand. Just say
I can't scratch my damn mouth.
Yeah, I see. Listen, you got ticks. I pay attention, bro. Body language. You got ticks. So come on, YSL Woody. Tell me what you got to say.
Let him go. He popping. He ticking.
Yeah, he pop locking, break dancing, and everything. Because live ain't hits. Because live privately,
that was rude.
Junior, when you like to talk, but publicly, you won't say some of this stuff. So now I'm putting your feet to the fire. You're saying that it was started by the Bronx, and if you're saying that who is the Bronx, I'm going to take your answer as to being it had a multicultural start. Jamaicans, Latinos, and Black.
Okay, I get you. So let me elaborate on what you're saying right there.
Real quick, because I got other people. Then we're going to start the show.
I'm making sure. Since everybody on the panel actually agreed that it had to have started at least after 1977. Since it happened after at least 1977, you already got major players like DJ Chase. You already got Crazy Legs in 77. So, and you already got Whipple Whip, you know, who's in not the Rocksteady Crew. It's eluding me at the moment, but you already got major players.
I think Fantastic.
Yeah, he said it. I know he's with Grandmaster
and
Cass.
It's Charlie Chase. If you keep ruining my heroes,
strike two. Charlie. And you know what's sad? You know what's funny? The person
is he a DJ?
No, hold on. The person that's actually saving you, and this is killing, is True Savior. and he's watching you make the mistakes. He's listening to you make the mistakes, and he literally ain't saying a word. So he might actually be your friend, and his hits is the one that you need to be worried
Oh,
about.
you know what?
That's all
Well,
I'm trying to say.
check this out. Check this out. I'm letting him speak, and then when it's my turn, I will speak. But I'm giving him the grace to
appreciate
speak.
you going.
Okay.
Definitely appreciate you going. But yeah, I mean,
But the hits ain't
simply
got
put,
that kind of grace.
simply put, by that time, there's too much going on, and you're not going to narrow it down to one particular neighborhood, one particular DJ. It's at this point, it could only be a collaboration of multiple different cultures at that point. So
Okay, let me get him right here.
Okay, okay. Hold on. So it's a multicultural in the Bronx. No, you about to come up, True. Once y'all gave me your time. Once y'all give me y'all who, then I'm gonna let y'all just take over. I'm gonna actually back out of the show. Pause. So it's multicultural in the Bronx in 1979. That's the origin of hip hop for you. Okay. I'm gonna let True Savior go. Then I'm gonna let you go ahead. Go ahead, True.
Okay, Logic. I need you to
No. Before you respond to Logic, you got to answer the question. We got your timeline 77, 78. I need to know where and who. So are you saying the Bronx also?
Yeah, I'm going to say the Bronx. Some people argue because I believe it's Black culture, Black American culture. That includes aspects of Brooklyn as well. Okay. So that's for me, Bronx and Brooklyn, because I believe it's part of Black culture. However, now I hope that answers a little bit
and
where
by
it
who?
comes from.
By who? And by who?
Oh, it's not a particular person by who. It's a
no, I mean like a race or something like that.
FBA, Foundational Black Americans.
FBA, okay, by FBA.
Clearly, it comes from that's the again. I had this discussion in my presentation. What was the dominant culture at the time? It was clearly foundational Black American culture. It was a dominant culture in the Bronx at the time. Every other group assimilated to what we were doing. You could trace the history of all the immigrants that come into our spaces and they assimilate to us. I did a video. I'm not going to go do this real quickly. I did a video with they're doing doo-wop music. That's not from Latin culture. These immigrants, these Puerto Ricans come into the community and they learn in doo-wop, having doo-wop groups. It's a part of the assimilation that they were doing. So is hip hop, or so is that era at the time. It's merely just Black American culture that was going on, and these other groups were assimilating to what we were doing. And so let me explain this whole thing about this multicultural creation. People, when they think of multicultural, they leave out the culture part of it, and they only think of nationalities or ethnicities. Oh, there was a bunch of ethnicities. There was a bunch of nationalities. Oh, there was a Cuban here. There was a Puerto Rican here. There was a Jamaican here. Oh, it got to be multicultural. What about the other part of the word, cultural? What were these other groups bringing to the table? Can you identify what was the Jamaican American bringing to the table of hip hop? What was the Norican bringing to the table of hip hop culturally, not participating? People lose that whole perspective. Even in a multicultural pot, everybody has their culture. When those individuals go home to their home, they're not eating the same food we eat. They're not speaking the same language we're speaking. They're not worshiping the same God that we're worshiping. It's all different cultures. But when they come into the street, they adopt a Black cultural identity. And that's what you have in hip hop. It shouldn't be surprising that when you look at flyers, you don't see any reference to Jamaican culture. You don't see any reference to Latino culture. No other culture is represented. You have references to the Nation of Islam. You have African references like Zulus. There's no Jamaican references. I'm talking about even the early 80s flyers. There's no references to any Latin. It's all us. That was the dominant culture. You look at the promoters at the time. Where were the Latin promoters? Where were the Jamaican promoters? Even the promoters who promoted or managed the New York Breakers. Michael, what is it, Coleman? What is that? What's that brother's name? Light-skinned brother. Michael, who did
Jackson.
Graffiti Rock. Help me out,
Jackson?
somebody. No.
Jackson?
No. The guy who started Graffiti Rock. Michael, I think
I can look it up for you.
Okay. He managed one of the Puerto Rican breaking crews. Most of the promoters in the late 70s and early 80s, in the 80s, were Black American. We were the driving force.
Michael Thomas Holman?
Yeah.
Michael Thomas Holman. Okay.
Right, him. Right. They were Black American. There were no Latinos. There were no Jamaicans. The predominant culture that was moving this culture forward was us, without question. So when you talk about who pushed this culture forward, it's Black American culture. It ain't no multicultural creation. It's an evolutionary process. That's why it's hard to put a date on it, because it all evolves from us. I did many videos documenting this. I don't even understand, and I know Logic, you don't watch my videos. That's cool, but I think you should. You might learn something, and not to be disrespectful, but let me just say this real quick.
I love it.
Let me say this real quick. You can't go open up a book or look up an article and say, oh, everybody says this, and therefore it must be true. And I'm gonna give you a quick example why that's bogus. And you could do this right now. I challenge anyone to do this right now. Google Block Party. Just Google Block Party in New York. Just Block Party in New York. Guess what will come up? 90% of the time, 1520 Sedgwick Avenue. 1520 Sedgwick Avenue for block parties. That is the consensus. And guess what? That wasn't even a block party. That was in a small rec center. But this is how, everybody feeds on misinformation. And if you don't do your own independent research, you're going to believe that the first block party was started by Kool Herc. Because that's what it's going to say when you Google it. So I would challenge you, Logic, don't rely on what you read necessarily. If there are people who are alive to speak to those people before you form your opinion. And again, I don't know what you say, where you say I gave into something. As far as I'm concerned, Foundational Black Americans created this thing. I'm never going to give up that belief. So I don't know where you come with I gave up on something, or I somehow went back on my stance, or I don't understand that. I just don't agree if something was called hip hop in the 70s, but there's no examples or no proof that there was even a term utilized in the 70s. I'm reluctant to call it hip hop. That's my stand. It's just Black culture. That's what it was. And all the other cultures, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Cubans, whoever, Italians, whoever was assimilated to the dominant culture at the time, which was Black American culture. That's the bottom line.
Hey, so I'm before I'm gonna bring you up, Hits. So some of the comments, Logic needs to apply logic. That's a nice little bar. Block parties and gyms were not the same thing at all. Shouts to you, Rand. We're gonna get you up here when we open up the link. True Savior, yes. Herc's sister said the flyer doesn't exist. So they're saying that flyer is fake. Mm-hmm. And I'd seen that before too. They were saying that it doesn't actually exist. Davion, before Black Americans created hip hop, other non-blacks was copying our blues, our rock and roll, our jazz, our R&B, our dancing, our lingo, our dress. Thank you for taking the time to put that in there. Everybody that keeps asking us to get DJ Faze, we have been trying for weeks to get DJ Faze. If it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, but they don't really shouts to him though, out of respect. But they just don't really respond. So I'm gonna keep trying, but it's a little difficult to get through. True Savior, this is true. The culture of America is FBA culture. Okay. So, real quick, and Black History Rock and Roll knew it was Holman before I could even look it up. So I appreciate that too. By the way, just remember we are dual streaming on Tri Media and True Savior's channel. Follow both channels. We're partnered up. We're collaborated. Follow the video from yesterday where Truth went in really quickly on about 30 minutes on the Olympics and how the United States treats the Black athlete and what we can do, what kind of leverage we could use. And then today we're having a good conversation. And Tuesday we're having a good conversation about Kamala Harris. So we're live on both channels. So if you come to Tribe Media, you'll see us. We got about 116 people watching. So we got we're live on Tribe Media, we're live on Facebook, and we're live on True Savior's channel. So definitely come over. If you're a mod, let me know. I'll talk to True Savior. See if you're a mod on our channel, I'll see if we can get you modded over there. But I think it's good. I'm glad everybody's happy that Truth is going live, and he knows I think he's a star anyway. So this is good. This is good. Look, he's running away from stardom every chance he get. I could actually appreciate it. All right, Hits. Go ahead and just tear the roof off the mother sucker. Ain't that what y'all be saying? Tear the roof off.
Watch yourself.
I'm watching it. I'm watching myself.
Watch yourself over there.
I'm watching myself. So Truth says hip hop started in 77, 78, the BX, Brooklyn, and by FBA. Logic says hip hop started in 79 in the Bronx by many cultures there. You said 80, 83. I just need your where and your who, and then say whatever you want, boss.
First of all, don't tell me what to say.
I know.
No.
I already knew where this was going. I tread very lightly talking to you, just to let you know. Go ahead.
No. First of all, hip hop culture is African American culture. It's a continuation of African American culture. Who other people throughout the years contributed to. That's my overall stance. Has been my stance from day one. Okay. I don't need to sway from that. Okay.
In the Bronx,
in New York City.
New York City.
You have people talking in Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, but I want to show two things real quick, just to show people that this is not only a discussion that obviously people have on YouTube and people who enjoy hip hop or who've been around it. So I'm gonna share my screen real quick. Y'all can pull up stuff too. Don't let Brass pigeonhole y'all.
It's my job
into his difficult line of questioning. All right,
literally my job. Go ahead.
All right, hold on. We're gonna share. We're just gonna play this little clip, and this clip is 2:45. This one is about the actual party, right? This is Flash on Drink Champs. Big shout out to Flash and Drink Champs.
Event.
Oh, let me know if you can hear it.
Oh, we can hear it. Go ahead.
Like, not that it happened, but how it happened or who was involved or what.
Yeah, I'd love to know who was there.
He's talking about that party.
And how'd the party turn out? How many chicks was it versus guys? Who were you breaking? Like, I want to know that too. Like, I want to know the merry-go-round. I want to know what their technique of Monsters and Quick Mix theories. I'd love to know, what was that first party and what's the merry-go-round?
When did you first hear about that party? Like, when?
So we could play that part.
Was it first? Like, when did people start saying this is the first party, identifying it as the beginning of hip hop?
And I'll stop it periodically so we don't get a copyright.
Okay.
Wow, that
you remember.
And they asked them, when did you hear that was the first hip hop party, or about that particular party?
That's crucial. You would be the one to tell us, because we wouldn't know. That's way before our time.
Right.
You would say, hey, you know what, guys? I really didn't remember this being talked about as much. And that's kind of like what Crazy Legs was kind of talking about. I don't know.
I don't know.
Remember what he said?
I can't remember.
So he's trying to remember when he first heard about the party.
Because it's all rallying around that point. That's why we're celebrating 50.
Right.
That's Brass's point.
But then if we're going to celebrate 50, then we got to talk about the party, who was there,
right?
Where it was, what happened. And this is, this is probably why he's saying that, like, I would respectfully love to sit down with Herkin.
So obviously he has an issue with it. Hold on, there's one more segment around 2:48.
Now, when it's crew.
That's why it's crucial that he does what you're doing.
It's extremely important.
Right.
And I can tell you, even on my streams, I have people who were at my parties in the beginning when I was nothing.
That goes to that claim of people saying they don't know the party, the flyer changed, there was no flyer, whatever.
That will tell you what my party was like. They remind me of shit that I forgot about. It's Cookie Monroe, Anna Monroe, Jacqueline Tucker. Like these people, they're still here. And one of them actually works with me in my company that remembers shit that I totally forgot. And this was really critically important because that kind of verifies when you got the layman's and the party goers saying.
So he's saying people at his party verifies his party. So he may be expecting that from Herc's party. It's almost done around. I'll speed it up.
Yep. That shit was true and is verified. I'm still yet to hear, and I'd love to hear who was at that first party. If it happened at the center, what happened at that center?
Right.
What was going on?
Kind of along the lines where we're
getting into it.
Hold on, I just want one part, 4840. And you'll see that, you know, it justifies some of the discussion that we're having today.
Do you think, because I remember that was another thing that Crazy Legs was pointing out, was that hip hop is older than 50.
Yeah, he's saying because, and DMC said this. He said documented hip hop we can call it 50, but he said hip hop was happening before that. That's what even DMC was saying that. Yeah.
His face says it all.
Okay, let's define it. If we define it, guys, it's the DJ only and playing what we call bastard music, the C cuts, the D cuts, the F cuts off the album.
Okay.
Oh, now hold on. Here's a good part. But
no, I just want to talk through it. I just want to make sure.
No, we're good. And I think this is how any of us would add a little bias to our argument, is where if I said it was me, I would have to narrow my argument so you would end up that it would be me. And I think this is what he does here, but with good reason, if you listen.
That's where hip hop, to me, that's where we had no title. It wasn't named yet. That's why it could be up for discussion.
See, y'all stressing Flash out, so y'all stressing me the hell out. I appreciate that. But and then we'll look real quick at just like a definition. Anybody obviously can Google this on Wikipedia real quick. Let's just see what it says. Nope, that's music. I want the actual culture. So just share that. Hip hop culture is a culture and art movement that was created by African Americans, starting in the Bronx. So we got Bronx, right? Pioneered from Black American street culture. Later reached other groups such as Latino Americans and Caribbean Americans. So this is Wikipedia hip hop culture.
I like it.
So it I agree with that. You know, it puts a lot of context into a lot of different categories into like a single flowing few sentences that I would agree with. So to answer Brass's question, it was started by, and I agree with this, African Americans in the Bronx. Now the date and the time, I'm going to go back to my timeline. I ain't going to, pull up nothing yet. We could do that later. When we look at some flyers and stuff to speak to what True Savory was talking about. But I'm going to go back to like the early 80s just to not, be on the same number they are, because I think that's where we can actually find it. The term, these people being called hip hop artists, maybe then. They're probably called rappers then, not even hip hop artists or hip hop parties or hip hop radio stations or hip hop genre music. Like all of that stuff is not even in the early 80s. So it's, but just you get more popularity of the term and what it represents in the early 80s, I would say.
Okay. Truth. Anybody want to respond to that before I start going into my questions? We're not going to be here very long. So before I start going into my questions, anybody want to respond to what he was saying? Because now we got even Grandmaster Flash saying that it wasn't 1973. And now we got people in the chat who I'm about to highlight There was one guy who said he was there. I hope you're there when we open up this panel so I can hear what you're saying. But how many Latinos or Jamaicans were at the so-called first party? That rec center can't hold more than 50 people. Were they doing graffiti, sharing the knowledge, were MCs rocking the mic? That's actually a good one. Robert Rand says before.
Hold on. Herc is Jamaican, so that would be a Herc's party. It's Herc's party, so we can't say none was there because
yeah. Robert Rand, once again, he says it's before 1971. Absolute 72 says before the 80s for sure. In the 1970s, Patrick Young, he said he was there at the party. This guy right here, Patrick Young. I don't know Patrick Young. You look awful young.
Patrick
Young looks awful young to be at that party.
Oh, hold on. Flash want to talk to you, Patrick.
Yeah, because I think Flash got some
he
questions
want to know who was there.
Listen, in the 1970s, I lived in both NYC and Florida. How old were you in 1970 that you still look like this now? I got questions, Patrick Young.
No,
in the 1970s, I lived in both NYC and Florida. Puerto Ricans or Jamaicans missed the FBA. They both came over dressing like cowboys and wearing plaids and stripes. Nobody was copying that. That is wild. Robert Rand said, what is street culture? I got some people that'll disagree with you. And Cool Herc says, Cool Herc can verify DJ John Brown's parties at the Plaza Tunnel in 1970, but nobody can verify Cool Herc's party. What does that mean? Anybody want to speak to that? What does that mean?
That's where Herc used to go to, like the Hebelo and the Plaza, and he speaks to that, and probably even Coca Rock, and you probably can find flyers. We'll look at some flyers later, for dates. What was the website? We ain't gonna look at it now. But somebody who told us on one of our last shows at Cornell University has a flyer a collection that's sorted out by date, so that's helpful. So they probably mean there's more information on those parties than it is, Herc's party, like documented, and Herc speaks at those parties also. Go ahead.
All right, Truth, you got anything?
No, I'm in agreement with what Hitz was saying there.
So can you agree that it could be, I know you gave your date, but why do you think that there were people, I'm going to go into my questions in a second, but why do you think that there were people, and their logic, I'm going to go to you because they're literally trying to, they just asked me, could they come into the show and hang you at a stake and set the fire? Just give me a second. I'm not letting nobody up because they want their
tell them to get in line.
Get in line. Yeah, take a number.
He will not do that to our brother. No, sir.
He does it to himself. We don't need to help him. What is this argument for it being before 1973? Because I'm hearing this argument now, and I've heard a channel. There's a channel called Hip Hop Since 71. I've been contacting them too. But some people are saying that it's from the 60s too. Like on the flyer it says 60s, 70s, 80s. Hold on. Go ahead, Truth, and I'm gonna go right to you, Logic. Right. Go ahead, Truth, and I'm gonna go right to you. Go ahead, Truth.
Well, they're talking about it from a cultural standpoint. When they also referring to the black space, because they believe that gang culture birthed hip hop. Mm-hmm. And so when you talk about the gang culture, you're talking like 70, 71. That's where that comes from. So the gang culture, and we talk about the space, that's Black American culture. Now, even though there were Hispanics part of those spaces as well, but it's a predominantly Black gang, Black American gang. And you have people like Charlie Rock talks about how hip hop comes out of gang culture. And so this is where that 71, 72 number comes from. At least one of the reasons. There could be others, but that's one of the main reasons.
Okay, Logic, go ahead.
All right. It's because people are using the term too loosely, right? I think that Flash tried to set us on track. And Brash, you're gonna have to give me about a good 3 to 5 minutes right here.
Go ahead, boss.
There was a lot I gotta clear up. Brad, he tried to get us on track and tried to explain that it can be up for interpretation, and that's probably the real truth, right? That's probably what is actually, happening right here. And you know, to some extent, I gotta respect other people's opinions, even though I don't agree with them. But let me share my screen for a second. So I'm gonna start us off right here. Too many windows open. Here we go. Yep.
They done turned on Cool Herc in the chat. They calling him fraud and liar and all of that. What is going on?
So look, I'm gonna real quickly just read, right? I'm reading from right here. So the term commonly used to describe a higher level of academic accuracy required in textbooks, museum, and similar educational materials is called scholarly rigor and academic rigor. This refers to the strict adherence to scholarly standards, including thorough research, precise documentation, and careful evaluation of sources to ensure that the information presented is accurate, reliable, and credible. In museums, the term curatorial rigor is also used to describe the process of meticulously researching, selecting, presenting artifacts or exhibits with a high level of accuracy, contextual understanding. This involves collaboration with historians, scholars, and subject matter experts to ensure that the information is presented in a way that is both educational and faithful to historical and scientific facts. These terms emphasize the importance of precision, critical thinking, and adherence to academic standards in producing educational content that is trustworthy and authoritative. Okay, I'm not done with y'all yet though. Like I'm actually just kind of starting the journey because now when I take you right here to the museums, you should easily understand what they're saying, right? Hip hop. I'm at the National Museum of African American History and Culture, right? African American history and culture. Hip hop started with parties in the Bronx. We went over that real quickly. So we're all in agreement that at least started in the Bronx, right? It says born in New York City in the early 1970s, hip hop reflects and influences of African American, Afro-Caribbean, Afro-Latino traditions that came together after World War I in the face of widespread poverty, blah, blah. You see that there are influences from Afro-Latinos and Afro-Caribbeans. I'm gonna do it one last time, and then I'm gonna let somebody else go because I don't want to hog the mic. But I'm making my points not from what I think. I actually did some research. I'm bringing the best of what I can find to the table, not just stuff that agrees with me. I'm actually just bringing what the best information I can find says. I'm back at the museum again. This is another New York City based museum. It says immigration was a leading influence on hip hop's beginnings. Soon this blending of music from immigrant culture spread from the Bronx to new neighborhoods like Harlem, Flatbush, East Elmsworth, and even the Lower East Side. Without the influence of Latino, Caribbean, and African American culture, the genre would not be what it is today. That's what the conversation looks like at the high levels, right? We can sit here and throw what we think about it in there, give our opinions, right? As if it's going to supersede what it says right there in the museum, right? It already says it. They've already had these conversations. The experts have collaborated and they've come to an understanding that this is a multicultural experience. It's not me saying it. I'm just giving you.
Why do you have our Discord?
Is our Discord? Okay. Hold on. I was trying to play something else. Oh, I got you. Hold up. Hang tight.
I definitely did this in honor of the people that did
Mute
that.
it. Can't play that beat. Can't play that beat. Can you mute that video before you start it?
I can. It's really just 5 seconds right here.
I know, but you know.
Okay, it's okay. I got you. So, that's Flash saying that he did hip hop for the B-boys, and that's also Flash saying that he did hip hop for people playing that were doing the Latino dance that he describes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, these are what his words are. He described the people doing the dance to the hustle as a Latino dance. I'm not giving you my words. I am just giving you what my research says. I'm not going off the dome, I'm not freestyling at all. It might seem like it because I'm kind of rattling it off because I kind of know it somewhat. You know, maybe I might mess up a name here or there, a date here or there, but for the most part, I'm giving you what the information says. I think actually Hits makes a really good point about it being a continuation. But if it's a continuation, then what were they continuing? If they weren't doing hip hop, then hip hop has to be something new. So when does something new happen? Does it happen in 1973? Does it happen in 1975? Does it happen in 1979? And what is the new thing? Is the new thing a genre of music? Is the new thing a culture? Right? And everything in between, all of it matters. Right? It's just not as simple as saying, oh, it has to be something that's black. I think that's a noble attempt, but I don't think it's the truth. And the experts don't think it's the truth. When they break it down, they're not as cut and dry as we would like for it to be, or make it sound like here on YouTube.
All right. Anybody want to respond to that?
I do.
I knew you did. I just want to just like that was a trick question.
I definitely wanted to
hold on. Let me go into the chat real quick. By the way, don't forget there's a dual stream on Tri-Media and Truth Savior. Like and subscribe to both channels. We don't care who you watch it on, but it's just a matter of just like and subscribe to both channels. They're saying Cap Logic, people who have there spoken over and over. They're saying that the museum is fake. I think I saw that in there. 1970s, there was racism with FBA in their communities. The hustle is not a Latino dance. Hank says someone is a tether just like this Logic guy. Y'all gonna lay off Logic for me. Y'all got Sleepy Logic, aka Olmec Head at the controls. Opal, thank you, Opal. You'll get a copyright strike on your channel by YouTube for playing that beat. Exactly. Go ahead, talk to the people, Truth. Then I'm gonna get into my questions, unless you got something you want to say after this hits.
Okay, so Logic read off some information from some museums and what they purport to say. I would bet you that they will all talk about 1520 Sedgwick Avenue. And if they do, and we just already went through that whole folklore about 1520 Sedgwick Avenue, then what value does those museum websites have? Now, I haven't read them, but I'm sure Logic, you read them. Do they mention 1520 Sedgwick Avenue as the beginning? Cool Herc. Do they mention that? This is a question for Logic. Do they mention?
Are you actually asking me that?
I'm actually asking you. Is 1520 Sedgwick Avenue 1973 mentioned in any of those articles in the museum?
Keep talking. Give me 2 minutes.
Okay. Listen, don't worry about it. I bet you it is. I'm assuming that it is because that's the folklore. So
I'm leaning no, but I'm double checking.
All right.
I'll put it to you like that.
All right. Well, I guarantee you that many make reference to that date and time. We just went over it. That wasn't hip hop. There was nothing really going on at that party. So if anyone refers to that as the beginning and is representing in any, what do you call it, an expert testimony for a museum, it's invalid. It has no value. So why even use it? This is what I'm talking about. Speak to the people, many of them who are still alive. That's a better resource than leaning on some article that you read from so-called experts. Experts are known to fail or not consistently be correct. Just because it appears in a book doesn't mean it's correct. And if, like I said, if it mentions 1520 Sedgwick Avenue, we know it's all bogus. So I'm going to leave it there for right now.
Yeah, right. So you got anything before I get started? And Logic, go ahead and answer the question.
So no, neither one of the websites mentioned 1520 Sedgwick Avenue. Much to your surprise.
Much to my surprise. But let me say this: it's not a multicultural creation. And if they consistently say that, it's clearly not a multicultural creation because I went through the ways in which it has to be, in order for it to be a multicultural creation, you have to document the cultural contributions from each group. And if you can't do that, you cannot call it a multicultural contribution. For example, when we talk about multicultural cultural contribution from Black American culture, we could talk about the music. We could talk about the DJ culture. We could talk about the vernacular. Those are all cultural contributions from Black American culture. Those are the things that are constantly seen in hip hop. When you listen to other people speak, Latinos speak that's in hip hop, who do they sound like? Who they appear to sound like? What vernacular do they use? When they say shout out, or even when they say boogie down, where do you think that comes from? That's not a Latin term. That's not a Jamaican term. Think about the terminology that you hear coming out of the mouths of the people in the street. And when you analyze the vernacular, it's clear as day that it's Black American culture. So when we talk about what are the contributions from these other groups, let's identify those cultural contributions. This is the problem that they will have in determining whether or not this is a multicultural contribution. Because again, I'd have to say this, and I'm gonna stress this constantly, in any of the flyers, in any of the music in the 70s, there's no reference to any Latin culture. There's no reference to Jamaican culture or any Caribbean culture. No reference whatsoever. So where is the multicultural contribution? And if any article purports to say that it is, they must prove it. They just can't use the fact that they were living in proximity to Black folks as proof to a multicultural contribution. That's not what you call it, scholarship at all. If you're going to say it's a multicultural contribution, spell it out. Make it plain so I can understand that we got this from this particular group. We got that from that particular group. There's nothing in the 70s that suggests it comes from any other group but Black American culture. That's why I keep saying it's Black American culture without question, because I could identify it. And if you think hard, Logic, you could identify it as well. And if you don't believe it, then you prove to me, point out any multicultural contribution from a Latino or Jamaican. Point it out right now in the 70s. Point it out, because that will prove whether or not it exists. And if you believe that it's multicultural, then you should have no problem pointing that out.
You know what's interesting?
I love it, bro. No, hold on. Hey, Truth, I want to
let me respond right quick,
hold on,
man.
let me real quick. Let me just say, I was going to do this while you was talking. It says, thank you. Your channel is precious and important to our culture and protecting and gatekeeping our music culture with history, facts, and receipts of our FBA history. That was the true savior from Opal Ivy. So I just wanted to, let them get those words in. But go ahead, and then I want to ask questions because I want to open up the chat. Open up the link to the chat within the next, few minutes or so. But I got my own questions before I do that. So go ahead, and then I'm gonna go into my questions. The hits, jump in.
I find it really interesting that you would choose to have your particular origin date outside of 1973, also. And you would move it all the way up 10 years ahead of time and be in the 80s. And by the time we're in the 80s, you can rattle off numerous Puerto Ricans that are in hip hop at that time. That's at that point, you're making it easy for me. That's what I mean by you gave me so much ground.
No, I'm not. You're missing it, brother. I can't believe
I'm really not. I'm really not missing it, right?
You're very. Let me explain it one more time. Let me explain it one more time, because you're going to talk. You're going to say something that's going to be not speaking to what I've been saying, and I want to stop you.
You didn't let me. I'm trying to get.
No. I'm going to stop you, and if respectfully, I'm going to ask you just to stop.
I'm allowing to clarify. I'm allow True Savior to clarify, and then
stop what?
Because
Logic. I'm gonna let him clarify, and then I'm gonna let you come right back.
And I promise. But you're talking about, again, the reason I'm talking about. When I define hip hop by what is known as hip hop culture by the 5 elements, that's why I went with the 78, 70, 77, 78. But I don't believe necessarily that it's hip hop in the 70s. It's Black American culture. So I didn't give into anything. It all comes from us. All you have is participation. So you mentioned the Latinos that were there. That's participation. That has nothing to do with creation. that's possibly contributing some things over time. But we're talking about the creation. What hip hop would not exist, or that particular era in time would not exist without Black American culture. It would not exist. When you look at the dance culture, DJ culture, vernacular culture, music culture, that comes from Black American culture. You have to have a starting point in order for something to grow. These other groups helped it grow. No question about it. These people were there in the 70s, 77, 78, 79, the Crazy Legs of the world, the Charlie Chase. Nobody's down in that. But the root and the vehicle from which they were able to propel their careers only was possible through Black American culture. And I don't understand how you can't see that. I'm not against these people being around or being a part of hip hop. It's what fueled this thing? What made it possible? What group made it possible? And if you could tell me Latinos made it possible, or it was a multicultural thing, I just can't see it. There's no evidence of that. And again, let me say this one more time. I'm sorry to take this a little more time than I need to. In order, again, I'm going to make it clear and plain as day. Show me the cultural contributions. Listen to the word culture, Logic, culture. Show me the cultural contributions that these groups made to the creation of hip hop. That's what I need you to answer. And if you can't answer that, you can no longer argue it's a multicultural creation. I rest my. I
absolutely can say it's a multicultural collaboration because the scholars say it's a multicultural collaboration. The museum says it's a multicultural collaboration. That's I can start there, right? And you were kind enough to give me enough ground to go all the way to the late 70s, where you already had these people participating, right? What are they participating in? They are participating in the new thing. Is the old thing the new thing? That's not possible. You have to be participating in some way or another in order to be involved in something. Let's not overemphasize this word about somebody participated. Of course they participated. That's how they are included in the origin of hip hop. They clearly had to participate. So you trying to make that argument it means that you're just trying to play with words and be semantical. Like I'm showing you what the information says and you are giving me your opinion. I'm showing you what the historians say. You're not even arguing with me, but I'm just the face here saying it. You're arguing with the historians. You're arguing with the museums. You're arguing with the curators. I mean, perfectly honest with you, I'd love to say that you're just right. But when I start doing the research, right, I go as high as I can find, which happens to be either some textbooks or happens to be some sort of college curriculum. These things are accessible. These things are all available. And when you look them up, they say it is a multicultural collaboration. That's not my opinion. UCLA is teaching that too. The African American History and Cultural Museum teaches that too, right? And I mean, if you just willing to disregard historians, well, I mean, maybe we should be talking more about conspiracy theories and not about accurate history, right? So if you're trying to backdate it, everything has to come from something, right? But everything that comes from that thing isn't the same thing, right? So yes. You have African Americans doing something. Let's use the term burning, right?
Something.
We know they're doing something.
Let them finish.
They're doing something.
That's rude and disrespectful because if you name
what they doing their thing.
But no, hold on. Because now, since African Americans are doing something, your next step would be able to tell us explicitly what the Jamaicans and Puerto Ricans were doing. Now, if you do that, that means you just zeroed out of everything. That shows bias. This is something, but they did the salsa, the mamba, the bachata, the Latin hustle.
You cut me off when I gave the example. I said burning.
Okay. Oh, burning. Okay. Go ahead.
They were burning.
Okay.
right? So weren't
We're
they
gonna look
burning
up
in the
that term
60s?
too. Go ahead. Yep.
Weren't they burning in the 60s?
We're gonna look up that term. Go ahead.
We're gonna
Go
look up
ahead.
that term too.
No, go ahead. Finish your thing. I just
I
want
mean,
to
no,
get in
look.
there.
So that I mean, at least at that
Let him
point, we're
finish, let him
taking.
finish.
At least at that point, we're taking a detailed look into what we're talking about. So if we look up the term burning, right? It was a type of dance that people were doing in New York. So people were burning in the 1960s and into the 70s, right? What happens to burning to cause it to go from burning to breakdancing? By the time people start breakdancing, right? When does the time that people start breakdancing until there's a thing called hip hop? These are three different things. These are three different things that are relevant to what it is we're talking about. And when you actually put some more details into it, I think it starts to make sense, right? You're asking me for a specific contribution, right? Well, I mean, when you say that, what am I'm kind of failing to understand what you mean by that, right?
I spelled it out to
If you know Charlie
Let
Chase
him
is
finish.
already
Let
on
him
the
finish
scene.
up. I'm laying your
If you
plane.
know Crazy Legs is already on the scene. If you know Whip is already on the scene. If you know Disco Wiz is already on the scene. If you know these people are already there and participating, right? I'm not saying that they're participating in high numbers, but they're there. I mean, you're going to remove them just so you can have 100%? But they're there already.
Okay. All right. So here's you got any. I want to get into my questions.
Yeah. I just want to know what is, since Logic has obviously done the scholarship, what is the consensus that scholars say the date that hip hop was started?
They generally agree.
You hear it all in his voice, don't you?
What's that?
Yeah.
DQ, you hear it. It's coming. That championship belt about to come out from hits. Pretty soon. I can see it, bro. I already know.
No, he's doing his thing.
You start shaking and looking crazy. I already know. Go ahead.
Be honest, I'm ready for all the tough questions already, yo.
Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, they use and I'm gonna be careful with my wording. They generally use that Sedgwick Avenue party as a starting point. And of course, I follow that up with a starting point for what?
No, hold on. That was just one question. In general,
I just asked him that.
No, hold on. But that's what I'm saying.
Let him cook. I'm gonna bring you. And I got to get to these questions, and I got to drop the link.
I know, no. I'm just saying. I think we got a little spread out with some of the topics.
111 in both chats, by the way. Let's clap it up for that. 111 people in both chats, by the way.
Shout out to everybody in the chat.
Hip hop is a.
And hold on. From what I'm seeing in the chat, people are like, they're top notch. No one's being disrespectful. No one's being too petty. You know what I'm saying? I think people are, carrying on a good conversation. So, in general, in your mind, or from what you've been reading, the scholars generally agree to 1973, 1520 Herc, right? In general. Do you agree with that?
I do and I don't, right? I can say yes and no.
Hold on. You're doing too much right now.
No, hold on. You established it?
Okay, well, when I answer the question,
he doesn't want to walk off the cliff.
Let me tell you what it is I understand about the question.
Gotcha. Go ahead.
Because when you use a particular date as a starting point for a culture, and this is what makes what we're saying relevant, right? When we're talking about cultures do not start in one day. They do not start in one place. They do not start with one person. So even if I'm using this as a particular start point, I'm also not excluding the next 10, possibly 10 years when it comes to an origin of a culture. See, that's what I think people are like really missing when it comes to having the kind of conversation about what do they mean when they call it a culture. But when I say they, I'm not talking about the rappers. I'm not talking about the interesting people who are attending these parties. Okay. I'm talking about educated people when they're writing it down.
Stop right there. Let's just
and
we're going to end up to I don't want to end up all back in the weeds again, right? In general, the scholars say that date that we just keep saying over and over by that person at that place, Herc 1520, right? You said that. I asked you, do you agree with that? You said yes and no. Can you give us a yes or no in general?
Yes, I agree with it. That's
Okay.
what they use.
So Brass, if you put his statement back up on the screen.
Okay. Are you talking about when he says it started and everything?
Yeah, because now it seems like to disagree with someone, you'll agree with the scholars. But but you fall back on that, but you don't agree with that at all times, right?
No, me personally, I feel like the culture isn't clear at that point. I mean, that's my interpretation. That would be me giving you my opinion.
That it started at a place,
right,
with a person,
right,
on a date. You agree with that? That culture started, hip hop culture. And
okay, you got me then.
Let's just put another statement Flash made, and this hopefully will move us, to another date. If y'all can, let me share my screen.
I don't think I'm going to get to my questions this show, so I think.
Yeah, let you wanted me and his to have the show. Let us have the show.
No,
you're right, but we got the chat. They want to come up too. So I'm gonna start inviting people up while y'all. I'm gonna start inviting people up while y'all talking.
Okay.
You have to cam up if you want to come into the chat.
And this is Flash's pretty much narrowing it down to like himself.
There's two ways to look at it. When it was fully formed and all four elements came into play, that will make.
He said all four elements came into play. I thought Bambaataa created the element list in 82, but whatever. Let's just go.
Me, 74.
74, Flash says, with me. If y'all didn't hear that, I'll just go back a little bit more.
It sounds like he's making a distinction.
Hold on. Listen.
We call bastard music, the C cuts, the D cuts, the F cuts off the album.
Here we go.
That's where hip hop, to me, that's where we had no title. It wasn't named yet. That's why it could be up for discussion.
Hold on.
Because there's two ways to look at it. When it was fully formed and all four elements came into play, that will make it me, 74.
So if the elements didn't come out, I even give it 1980 with Bambaataa, unless somebody shows us something sooner. I think we all can agree Bambaataa said that around the early 80s, right? The elements. Not only are they backdating and what was the word you used? Truth. What's the word you used? Retroactive. Retroactive. You retroactively using the word hip hop backwards, and you can stop at whatever date you want to. Now you're gonna retroactively use the elements, unless the elements were already determined when Flash says it right here in 1974. That the elements were recognized as elements of hip hop. Does that make sense to everybody? He said, and he held up his hand, 1, 2, 3, 4. Starts with him in 74. So when did the elements all be related to this thing called hip hop? The term don't exist. Flash is calling it the elements, and whoever's saying, oh, they said it in a song. They said a lot of words in a song. They said a whole hell of a lot of words in the song. They said a lot of words at them parties. How come one of them words couldn't have jumped over and been the title of this hip hop? Shoebop, bebop, Scooby-Doo. Guess what? America, we love you. And Busy Bee, Bob the bomb, the dang diggy. All of that good stuff. They said a lot of words in songs. So to use a word in a song as a representation of a whole thing, I don't think that's a good argument for some of y'all in the chat. I'm definitely not going to give y'all that one. But Flash, I'm going to play it one last time. I just want y'all to think about it when Brass is asking these questions, right?
And then I'm going to get into the two brothers.
Yep, hold on.
Would you kindly play that same clip at 21 minutes when you get a chance?
Okay. Hold on. Let's just
get don't own that clip.
No, listen. Four elements, a date, and we got person, one of the progenitors, Flash.
There's two ways to look at it. Was fully formed and all four elements came into play.
Fully formed. He said they were fully formed. That's what he said. His hand was kind of in front of his mouth. And all four elements came into play.
That will make it me 74.
That's a whole nother discussion. Fully formed in 74. If we're arguing about it being fully formed in 73 in a rec room, he's talking about it fully formed in 74. The term ain't out, but he's saying it's fully formed. Okay, Logic, where at? You want me to go 20?
Yeah, 21 minutes. Yeah, for whatever reason, the audio was really low just now.
Oh, my bad. Let me see if it's now. It's turned up. It's turned up. As
All
much
right,
as I
let's go,
ain't
and
getting
then we're
turned
getting
up.
to the two brothers to join the panel.
Okay, 21 minutes. Let's go here. 21 on the dot.
Let's start there.
You don't know.
I forgot the seconds.
Okay,
I mean,
okay. No, that's good.
In short, I know nobody trusts me, but you know, in short,
No,
what he says.
go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't want you to
Set it up
trust
for us.
me either, yo. I got enough receipts.
No, go ahead, set it
I
up
got
for
enough
us.
receipts. Yeah, he calls. You want me to set it up to play it?
Yeah.
Right.
Because this part you want me to play.
All right, let me get into the two brothers. Pause while you looking for that.
No, I got it. I just want him to set it up. Not physically set it up. Set up what I'm getting ready to play.
Oh, you're talking about set it up the argument. I want
yeah.
y'all to hear one of the pioneers of hip hop give his opinion of music being what he calls colorless. Right? I think he's on Drink Champs really trying to steer us in the right direction and tell us that this argument is inconsequential and unsubstantial, no matter which turn that we want to make about who is the who that created the what. I wanted y'all to hear Grandmaster Flash say it while we kick it around back and forth as if we can go to the museum and have it changed or take it out the textbooks or affect the curriculum down at UCLA or Washington State, so on and so forth. Welcome to the stage, fellas.
Well, it's also funny, since you speaking of colorless, if you want to add some color, which, African Americans didn't have a choice of that, throughout their history here of adding and subtracting color. Some of his favorite go-to records are by people who used to be called colored. So you could yell, "I don't see color. This is colorless." And in his statement, yeah, he's talking about the different records they played are from different people, white people, black people. So all those people created hip hop. Is that what your argument is?
No. I would even elaborate and take it to the 28-minute mark where he also explains that when he grew up in his house, he listened to Latino music. It wasn't something that he was ashamed of as a Bronx resident, that his parents had Latino music in the house when he was growing up.
Okay, now we're gonna go there.
But I mean, I'm sure everybody gets the point. It wouldn't go. It wouldn't make a difference anyway. I'm arguing against common sense versus.
Oh my God.
Whatchamacallit.
But hold on here. If
all right, let's move this along. Let's move this along now.
Actually, there's a bunch of clips in here we can go through. I got them timestamped, not in the actual video to jump to them. Maybe one day me and Logic will go through, timestamp them, so we can just jump to them and have something to say. Because the video is like 3.5 hours long. So anybody definitely go check that out. I think Logic made this point.
All right, let me.
No, it's definitely 21 minutes and 28 minutes though, for sure.
All right, let me
21 minutes, brothers, 28 seconds.
I don't want to mess with it unless.
Okay, all right. No. We good. We good.
That's what it says, bro.
All right, y'all good. Okay, y'all good. All right. Let me get these two brothers in here. Then I'm gonna go right to True Savior. So Anthony, you were first. Introduce yourself and tell me what you want to talk about.
Hey, how you doing? Yeah, this is Anthony Whitaker.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, good. Well, first of all, I study art, history, culture. I got a personal library. Some of my books here, I got tons of books. I study this stuff a lot. And one thing the brother Logic said, he said that he studies, scholars. First of all, scholars are not always right. I've actually had stuff at Oxford University changed because it was wrong. So because you read something by a scholar does not mean it's law. That's number one. Secondly, when you deal with anything dealing with Black American history or culture, is going to be tinted with racism, particularly in this country. That is not an opinion. That is a fact. That's a fact. So you cannot take that as Godspell. You can't. Culture in and of itself does not emanate from a multi-people source. It doesn't work that way. Culture does not work. Any anthropologist that is worth his weight in gold or salt will tell you that. Okay? So when you look, and one thing, the point that Logic made is true, is that culture does not start in a day. For instance, if you didn't have blues, you wouldn't have rock and roll. You wouldn't have soul. And you need all those things to start many years ago to even get to the point where you can now do hip hop. So without those things, you wouldn't have it. So when you go to the root of hip hop, you have to go way back, and you have to have these things as part of it. And all of the cultural roots and the cultural elements are clearly Black American. This is not even a debatable topic, because the slang, the lingo, everything was Black American. One of the major element of any culture is language, by far. So the fact that Spanish wasn't even spoken in hip hop, that takes out a major influence of Latinos. There are no Spanish words in hip hop, none, zero. This is why Ruby D, the Latin rapper, could say, my name is Ruby D and I'm Puerto Rican, but you might think I'm Black by the way that I'm speaking. Why would he say that? Because he was speaking in Black vernacular, 100%. All of the vernacular, all of the cultural elements, even where the parties were formed, it was a Black American cultural construct. People have a tendency to think just because this person was Jamaican or that person was Latino, then there was an influence. The nationality of the person means absolutely nothing. It means nothing. It's what they are participating in. Okay? You have a lot of white bands that play jazz. Does that make jazz white? No, it has nothing to do with it. It's a Black cultural construct. So they are using the culture that's already there and they are participating in it. When Kool Herc came to the Bronx, I was born in the Bronx. I was born in Soundview. I was born in the heart of it all. When he came there as a young man, there's no way in the world that this man started. It's laughable. It's laughable. Secondly, you can almost say James Brown. I'll say James Brown. James Brown and this brother Dwan B made a good point. And when I heard it, I said, wow, he articulated that little point, he articulated perfectly. What made James Brown's music so compelling to breakdancers is what he did. What he did was he took the breaks and extended it in his music. And as a matter of fact, during the time of James Brown, a lot of people thought he would even destroy music. They didn't like that he was doing that. James Brown is one of the most influential artists, but he was never mainstream. A lot of people don't realize James Brown never had a #1 record in America. Never. Out of all of his recordings, he never had a #1 hit, even though he's probably one of the most influential musicians of our time. So what he did was he extended the break beats in his music. So even me as a dancer, I used to dance. I wasn't a break dancer, but I used to love to dance. And I used to love to dance to James Brown because he held that groove for a long time. So what James Brown was doing, his group was playing it. The DJs was simply spinning it. But he had already did it. He did it in the actual performance of his music. So it's a small leap of the imagination to take any break beat from any artist and extend it. That's all Kool Herc did, but it was already there. And that's why James Brown's music was so infectious and so compelling to breakdancers, because his beats, when you listen to his songs, I got ants in my pants and I need to dance. He held that beat for a long time. On the good foot, he held that beat for a long time. And if you are of that time and you listen to James Brown music, you know what I'm talking about. Other artists and other funk artists at the time did not do that. Only James Brown did that. As a matter of fact, he even released the album. It's almost like he foresaw that this was coming, and all he had was break beats on it. But anyway, just getting to the point that the culture of hip hop is 100% Black American. Also, you have to take into effect, during that time, you had Soul Train. Okay, so Black American culture was everywhere. You had the blaxploitation movies, Shaft, Superfly. You see what I'm saying? So everybody was trying to adapt and appropriate the culture of Black Americans. There was no Latino Soul Train. There was no Caribbean Soul Train. Didn't exist, even to this day. So we have to take those things into consideration. So the source of it ultimately the source of hip hop is not even debatable. It is Black American culture, not necessarily the people only. See, a lot of times people just get it with the people. If you have a Puerto Rican, he's speaking your same vernacular, then where did he get it from? He got it from
Land your plane, big fella.
Huh?
Land your plane. I got
But anyway,
ask
all
you
right,
a
that's
question.
it. No. You can ask it, but that's the point I was making. But the main thing I wanted to make to the brother Logic is that just because you read something in a college or a scholarship, or this is what the museums say, doesn't make it fact. Doesn't. That I can tell you because I've corrected museums. Doesn't make it fact.
Let me ask you a quick question.
Sure.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask, and then I'm gonna get into the next brother. Then I'm gonna go to True Savior. By the way, we live 121 on both channels. Truth, is safe to say that the people been waiting on you to go live, brother. That's all I'm gonna say. It's all I'm gonna say. They've been waiting on you to have these conversations live. Shouts to Truth. This is his second live, and he has over 100 people in his chat on his live right now. I think that's fire. That's our newest business partner. We partnered up with Tribe Media. Like and subscribe. The link is pinned. Follow both channels. We'll be doing a lot of joint information. So let me ask you a question. First, could you drop your email in the back chat? I want to have a separate conversation with you. And then secondly, so did hip hop start in 1973? As fast as you can answer these questions. Did hip hop start in 1973 on Cedric Avenue in the Bronx by Kool Herc? Is that when it started?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. So by your estimation, I just need your statement. When did hip hop start? Where did it start, and by who?
You cannot give a definitive answer to that question. Culture does not work that way. Once again, like I said, based on many arms and many tentacles. Okay, when you look at the complete culture, the music is number one. Okay, the lingo. This stuff developed over a period of time. You can't say 1940 at this time at 5 a.m. This is when hip hop started. If you notice, they don't do that with any other music. You don't do that with rock and roll. You don't do that with soul. You don't do that with anything. So why?
So you don't hold on. So you don't have a start date or a range. You don't have a start date or a range.
I would say it's a totality of Black American culture, starting from blues. I would say it's a culmination.
So you're saying, hold on. Okay, so you're saying like in the 40s or in the 40s then?
Yeah, there's definitely elements of that because that is part of the elements that make us up as a people. It goes way back. It goes
it goes way back to the 40s. Okay. Wait now. So where would be irrelevant because you're saying that it started possibly back in the 40s. And please drop your email because I need to have a conversation.
But I just put in the chat.
No, put it in the there's a private chat if you can see it somewhere. I can't see what you see, but
check this out. Check this out, Brad. Brad, real quick. Anthony, what's up, brother?
Yeah, what's up, brother? What's up, man?
Hit me with your email, and then I'll get it to Brass.
Okay, definitely.
Because you see where I'm going, Truth. I think what's going on is it's safe to say that then that means, and I'm not going to curse, even though I want to, then these 50 years of hip hop was made up.
Oh, no doubt.
It was made up. It was just a money grab at that point. I don't think we've been having these hip hop shows for a few weeks. And so far, when I brought up the pillars, they threw those out, and the date, and they threw those out. So wait, I'm going to come back to you, Anthony, because being that you answered the way you did on the first, I don't need the answers on the second too, but I want to have a separate conversation with you specifically because I like something you said about throwing out the museums. Let me get my other brother in here real quick. It doesn't Yeshua. Am I pronouncing that correct?
You hear me?
Go ahead, Bob. Go ahead. Yes, I can hear you. Talk to the people.
Yeah. Well, this is my take on the whole thing. I think we're having the wrong conversations about the origins of rhyming first. First, you got to hit rhyming first. We can't talk about rap first. We got to look at the early Black DJs of the 1940s that were rhyming on the mic. That's what they were doing first. That's what made them popular. The fact that they were rhyming on the mic before they were rapping.
Facts.
Okay. So if you take the father, the argument was I think it was in the 1980s between Philadelphia and New York. They was arguing over the father of rap music, which they said was Jocko Henderson. They argued over that. They said no, Jocko was one of the first Black DJs, as they know it, to rhyme on the mic. Jocko, boy, I've been round the corner back again. That dude was 80 something years old. He was 70 something, almost 60 something years old when he made the record.
Hey, brother, do me a favor. Brother, do me a favor. They're
Go
saying they're
ahead.
not picking up all your words because of
Oh
your
wow.
passion. But no, because of your passion and your they said that Logic said that you are literally went outside to yell at him. So say everything that you are saying, but just lower, just a lower tone. Give me all the same passion, pause, but just not as loud because it's kicking you, it's giving us every other word. Go ahead. I think he did. Let me tell you something about this hip hop conversation. When we start talking about hip hop and these dates, and I want you to stay with me, brother, if you can, Anthony. Truth, when we start talking about hip hop and these dates, it gets a little crazy. A quick story about Truth. He's our newest partner in Tri-Media Innovations. But one of the first things he said to me was like, yeah, I don't really, I don't mind talking about hip hop, but there's a lot of things else I want to talk about. When I tell you, at some point we're gonna have to make a division or something, because this conversation evokes so much passion. And now I'm hearing 1940s, and he just spit a bar from the 40s. That's why I want him to come back. Yeshua, if you get the opportunity, please come back. He just literally spit a bar from 1940. Shout out to Carnivorous Podcast. Make sure y'all go follow him. I think that was Pigmeat Markham. Would I be wrong in saying that?
Jocko Henderson?
No, he's a DJ.
I don't know. See, now I don't.
Hold on, Brad. Let me just jump in there 1 minute.
Go ahead.
What?
And then I'm bringing you in, Truth. Stay with us, Anthony. I appreciate your contribution.
Yeah, that's just going to be real quick. And what you're going to see trending is when people talk, what'll happen is if you can find any of those elements, the quote unquote 4 elements, right? In African American culture, they don't want you to do that. Mm-hmm. They don't want you to go pre-80, pre-75, pre-74, pre-70, pre-65. They'll start putting these stop dates on it. Oh, that wasn't rapping. That wasn't dancing. That wasn't dressing. That wasn't talking. That wasn't playing music. That wasn't a beat. That wasn't a break. But if you pick another culture, they can dance you all the way back, and no disrespect, to my Caribbean brothers and sisters, all the way back to Jamaica. If you take the Latin route, they're gonna dance you. Or they're allowed to dance you all the way back. Salsa, Mamba, the Congo, the clave. The conga, the clave. All these different instruments. They could dance you all the way back to find this sliver. But the minute African Americans do it, that's the problem. They don't want you to say if the last poets were rhyming or not. If Gil Scott Heron, I think his father's even Jamaican.
Right.
Yeah. Like they won't let
Heron,
you use them people as saying, oh, that's not rapping. They're not talking rhythmically over a break. You got to go do all of these hoops not to call it what it been, what it is, what it's a continuation of. But if you need to shoehorn more people from different cultures in there, not some, but just more, you can go to any date. You could pick any instrument, you could pick any dance style, and you'll say that's what it was. But we don't get that privilege a lot of times. So that's what you'll notice in the conversations. As soon as he says Pigmeat Markham or things like that, oh no, whoa, but you went back to a Congo player. A conga player.
That's right.
Whoa, James Brown, whoa. As far as whoa, Gil Scott, whoa. Curtis Mayfield, whoa. Like you can't do that. They won't, so it has to work on both sides. I end up where I end up at without a lot of work.
Can I say something, brother?
And then I'm gonna be done. Hip hop, rock and roll, blues, soul, funk, scat, all of that. It ain't a long jump off the highway we on to get where some of that they're at. You're gonna end up somewhere else, speaking another language, eating a different kind of food, dressed a whole different kind of way, other than what you grew up with. Go ahead.
And brother, I just want to. What's your name, brother? I'm sorry.
And then I'm gonna go right to Yeshua. Go ahead, Anthony.
How you doing, man?
Yeah. You made a good point, and this is the point the point that the brother was making. Like he said, when it comes to us, we can't go back.
Right.
The logic. This is the racism. See. That's why you have to question the scholarship, because now they want to put a stop and say, no, you can't do this or you can't do that. Because to any culture, there's always a precursor. Nothing just comes out of a vacuum. It doesn't work that way. Science, anything, art, whatever. There's precursors. You see what I'm saying? You didn't have a Ferrari. You had a Model T Ford, and then the car progressed. But you, as the brother said, there's a progression, and it's not a huge leap of the imagination. Okay, when you see the brothers dancing in the 30s and 40s, my whole thing is, okay, show me some Latinos that were doing something similar to break dance or anything. There's no cultural precursors coming from any other group except Black Americans, and that's why, as the brother said, they got to shut you up and they got to stop you, because they know that these cultural precursors are facts. Okay, and that's the racism when it comes to culture and when it comes to hip hop. Okay, because the people of this country know that we created all these genres: rock and roll, blues, funk, soul, rap, whatever. But the actual origin is blues. As a matter of fact, just so you know, there's been studies by college professors. They want to know. Did you know one of the main things they wanted to know? They wanted to know why the blues only sprung up on America. Because that is really the foundation of all modern music, is the blues. So the whole thing is to find out, well, why didn't it start in Brazil, Jamaica? Why did it only crop up in America? That's the mystery. So I'm just simply saying that, you know, just to agree with what the brother just said, why they, like I said, if it was Latino, they want to go back to an instrument. They want any little crack or whatever. It could be go way back. They can use that. But when it comes to Black Americans, they want to put that stop there. And that's the racism in scholarship. That's the racism that comes into play. They want to stop you because they know that you have all the facts. You're holding all the Black Americans hold all the keys. That's not an opinion. That's really just a fact. But anyway, just wanted to make that point.
Let me get Shua back in. Let him state his piece, and then I'm gonna get True Savior. Can't forget my brother. Go ahead.
Do you hear me better now?
Yes,
is that better?
Yeah, we good.
Okay. Like I was saying before, we have to deal with these founding fathers of rhyming, and at that particular time during the 40s, 1948, 49, Jocko was the most popular one. Now, there was a brother who preceded him from Baltimore. He was a DJ. He was rhyming on the mic. I say Jocko because he was the most, he became kind of like the face, even though that he got his inspiration from the brother from Baltimore. I forgot this brother's name, but you can look him up. But he said that he got his inspiration from him. Now, Jocko went on, his son was the DJ at WDAS FM in Philly. He talked about his father being father rap. He cursed some heat for that, but he broke it down to them, to the rappers in the 80s, said, look, my father was already doing this. There were men already doing this thing, y'all. This is nothing new for Black people to do this. There were no Latinos at that time, none. Okay, I want to say it again. No not Latinos at all. Jocko was the man. That's why in 1978, when he made this song, during the time, right after King Tim III with Fatback, when he did the rhyme, the rapping at that time, Jocko did a song called Jocko, Where You Been? I've been around the corner back again. And he did the music that he played underneath him was Ain't No Stopping Us Now. Okay, so you have from the 1940s, you got on up to the 60s with the last poets and the Watts poets, but let's deal with this straight on the East Coast. Then you got the last poets. Then you got from the last poets from 67, 68 to 1971, 72, where you have some other brothers come along on the street corners and they were just rapping. Okay, they were only rapping. Then you got some other brothers come along. Then around, say, 82, 84, 85, you had this idea of hip hop that come along. There was no hip hop in 1971, 72. There was no hip hop in 68, 67. And sure enough, there was no hip hop in the 1940s. as we know it as hip hop, as the name hip hop. So I'm saying that I think we're having the wrong conversations with these Dr. Colonies, Dr. Odie. We're having the wrong conversation with them. See, because they don't have any innovation when it comes to this thing called rap. See, I say rap because that's my generation. We didn't call it hip hop. We call it rap music only. See, and those Latinos who came aboard at that particular time, none of the Puerto Ricans at that time will come out and say they were Puerto Rican because they was adopting and going with the auspice of Black culture. So none of them dudes came out and said they were Puerto Rican. None of them said that. Unless you went home with them. As far as I know. So I think that we need to not rewrite, but rethink the conversation that we're having with these people. And these revisionist logic, they're revisionists. They're trying to say that when they write a statement that the immigrants came here and contribute to hip hop, that's a revisionist statement. That's not a factual statement. That's someone who's trying to rewrite something. I was very racist that they would do something like that because it's no way in hell they did that in the face of a Black pioneer rapper sitting at that table when they did that. So I'm saying that's what I got to say, bro. There's a lot more I want to say, but I know there's other people on this phone who want to say something as well.
Okay, no problem. I just want to take a second.
Can I please?
Yeah. I just want to take 1 second. I'm gonna let you come right in, Logic, but I got to get the True Savior right after that. I just want to take a quick second and talk about this hip hop date in history where this woman completely reinvented breakdancing as we know it. And I think that her people, they have something to say. I just want to make sure that we do not forget the representation. I'm even taking all the banners down. I want to make sure that y'all understand that the lady in green got something to do and something to say about the representation of hip hop. This is the Australian team. Their star breakdancer at the Olympics last week. And I just want to let it go for about another 10 seconds because I have never seen moves so graceful, so elegant. And I think that she is reinventing.
She can have it. I
think we got 4 pillars. I think the 5th pillar.
Let her go.
Is Australian break dancing. She took it all across the globe. She was in France. They're clapping for her, as you can see. So until somebody shows me, she's saying it's coming from the heart. So I think y'all need to show me.
Heart. She got bad heart.
Right. Oh, I mean, y'all need to let me know. And that's the bunny hop that's new into the double down chicken
history
pot
books. Hey, history books.
So I don't know what y'all got going on, but until y'all can show me some representation from her clan and what she got going on, I think all y'all is capping. I just thought I'd take a break and show that. Go ahead, Logic, and I'm gonna go right to True Savior, and then I want to get to I'm about to put my questions on the screen because I think that y'all actually are trying to not ask my questions, answer my questions. So I'm gonna cut my questions down from 5 to 2 because I don't want to be here all day. By the way, Truth, you have had consistently over 100 people live, so it's safe to say once again the people are waiting for you to go live. But go ahead, Logic. Go ahead and respond.
So yes, I think the other brother came on and touched on it briefly, and I think that it pause.
They can't hear you. They can't hear you.
And I think it goes understated, right? About where we are confusing the conversation when it comes to it being a culture, right? And you're absolutely correct. Cultures don't spring up in one day, not by one person or one particular event. You need to include these other things, and typically that can span anywhere from a period of years to possible decades, right? There was also another point that somebody made.
Got to speak up, brother. They can't hear you.
There was also another point that somebody made, right? Their opinion has them putting hip hop in the 40s, right? My opinion would be
nope.
No, let them cook.
Somebody
Let
did
him
say
say this
that.
piece. Go ahead.
Somebody did say that. My opinion, not my research. My opinion would be it's somewhere between 70, 75, and 79. His opinion says it'd be somewhere in the 40s. Now, to me, you know, what you're talking about is happening in the 40s is blues and jazz, right? You also don't have blues and jazz without Negro spirituals on the plantation. So if I keep going back, were they doing hip hop on the plantation? I mean, simply because the precursor to the precursor to the precursor doesn't mean that this was also hip hop. There has to be something, right, that specifies now we are doing hip hop. It has to be something, and it's certainly more intricate than flyers. It's certainly more intricate than graffiti. It's more intricate than just rapping. It's more intricate than just rhyming, more intricate than just breakdancing. It's more intricate than just DJing, right? All these things have to come together and make a new thing. And that new thing was hip hop. And you don't see that new thing of hip hop until the early 80s. And you can make an argument for it being in the mid to late 70s. And I'm not going to get into the rest of that argument, but just to clarify, if you're talking about all these elements and you're talking about the origins of hip hop and when it actually would have started, then you have to at least separate it from other things that are happening before. There has to be some point of relevance to be used to mark between, okay, well, this is what they were doing here and this is what they were doing there in some chronological order with some time reference to it. Right, I think that that's super important, and we're blurring the lines, and still, you know, the brother talked about it briefly, which leads me to believe he knows what I mean when I say that you can't just simply date a culture to one particular date or event, right? So with that being said, if you saying it starts in the 40s, I won't argue with that. I'll just feel in my heart that that's not correct, and if that's your opinion. You know, you can have your opinion, I can have mine, right? So, but for me, you know, I'm gonna have them starting it in the 73, and we're gonna include, you know, almost a whole decade of events until you get what we know today as hip hop. I'm done. I'm gonna let somebody else talk.
All right, Truth, I'm gonna let you jump in. I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't do that. You got anything based off what you heard, and then and then answer that question when you're done.
Yeah, just help me remember. I remember asking Logic when he was reading from the websites of the museums. I specifically asked him, did they cite 1520?
They didn't. I answered you. They didn't.
But hold up. But when now maybe I misunderstood, because when His asked you something similar, I thought he was referring to what you researched, and you agreed that with the 1520 Sedgwick Avenue date. Am I missing something?
Yeah, there's a book out there called Can't Stop, Won't Stop. It's done by a hip hop historian, and he actually uses it. By him, I would say he's a credible source. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say I think the hip hop historian is lying. And matter of fact, while we're at it, you know, what would they stand to gain by denying or including another culture, not necessarily culture, but another people group into the origin of hip hop? What would the conspiracy be? What do they gain from that?
Okay,
I'm curious.
Let me spell it out as simply as I can.
Mm-hmm.
When people, let's say, for example, an artist, let's say a white person or any other non-black person, let's say in an entertainment field, sings a song or sings in a way of a style of Black American way of singing. Many times they're challenged about that, and they will say, well, that's not Black American, that's just American. is in a way they dilute the origins of this style of dance or style of singing by referring to it's just American. That is what's going on when we talk about hip hop and the inclusion or the melting pot or the multicultural situation in dealing with the creation of hip hop. When you dilute it by making it multicultural. This is what Anthony was speaking to, the racism. By making it multicultural, you're diluting it. And so this is when you say, well, what is there to gain? What's to be gained is that you won't refer to it as a Black creation. You refer to it as a multicultural creation, therefore taking Black people out of their rightful place in the creation of this particular culture. So this is what you have to gain. Because there's no one, likes Black people per se. So they're going to take every opportunity to minimize their importance, then minimize their role. And so this is why it's so in vogue to say it's multicultural, So I hope that answers this question. Now let me do this. Let me go back to the Flash excerpt that you guys played earlier, his play earlier. Now, according to Flash, he says 74. Now, there were no Puerto Ricans in 74. If you believe in Flash theory, where were the Puerto Ricans then? Where was Charlie Chase then? Where was Whipple Whip then? Where was Ruby Dee then? Now, this is Flash. I'm sure you recognize Flash as a pioneer of hip hop. His word means a lot, but he's saying 74. Where were the Puerto Ricans then? So is Flash wrong? I mean, you have to ask that question because he says the four elements: dance, not dance. Well, yeah, dance, DJ, b-boying, MCing. He say all of that was there in 74. How is it multicultural in 74?
No,
How is it?
No, you can't start using the experts now. Because
remember, no. I'm challenging you.
No. That wasn't a. He wasn't.
No.
That was a challenge.
I'm
challenging you now.
First started, he said the 80s, right?
Hold up. Wait a second. You see, logic. You're not following me.
No, that's what I do. I try to use sources. You go off.
Hold up. What? Oh, I don't use sources, right? Is that
what source did you use when you said the 80s? What source were you using?
I personally, I didn't say 80s. I said, I don't know why you can't understand what I'm saying. I totally clarified what I said initially. I said, if you define hip hop culture by the elements, you can say 77, 78, 79, 8. You can say that. It depends on how you define it. I don't give a date to it. Because I don't believe in retroactively. Hold up. I don't believe in retroactively assigning a decade a name that it wasn't called at the time. Like I said, most references to that period in the 70s was disco. The so-called hip hop parties were disco. So if you want to be real about the time and what was going on and what the terminology was, it wasn't hip hop. That's my point. So it's not, I'm not agreeing to, I'm only defining what the elements and what people call the hip hop culture. That's what I'm using. But if you're asking me to put a date on it, I won't do that. I won't say hip hop started in the 70s. I'm not going to say that. I hope you understand what I'm saying. Okay. I'm trying to give a date in terms of what most people would say what the elements provide. And if you're talking about DJing, b-boying, rap or MC, graffiti, which I don't like, and what's the fifth element? What they say? Knowledge. Well, no one gives a damn about that. But the point is, the four elements. Basically, we're talking about the four elements. Most people say that it came around 77 when everybody could identify it. But I don't even go with that. But for the sake of just giving a date, I went with that. But personally, I don't really go with that at all.
All right. So with that being said, you disagree with Flash.
Hold on, Logic. Hey,
hold on.
Bustero, you gotta at least cam up in the back chat before we can let you come on the stage. Pause.
Hold on. We're
Before
gonna
we
be
can
here
let
all
you
night.
come up to the panel.
If
Go ahead,
we don't move
Hicks.
around. No, I just got one question for Logic, and then we got to move around the panel and answer that question.
Yeah.
Do you consider Can't Stop, Won't Stop a good source?
I do.
No? Not
I said I do.
Oh, you do?
Say,
Okay.
Yeah, they
okay.
say Chin is an actual. They give him hip hop historian. Yeah.
Okay, so if I can show you in that book that he states for each aspect that you want to name, it was African American culture, and that the popular and that the statements that are made similar to everyone was getting along. That's how all these cultures were able to merge. Is not exactly what he says in that book. If I could show you all of those different elements.
Yeah, I'm flexible. Man, pause. I'm not flexible, but
okay, I don't have it in this computer, but I don't want to bother
you.
show down. I
will go the direction the information.
I'll send you the bookmarks.
Yeah, I'll go in the direction the information takes me.
Gotcha. All right, go ahead. Now you good. Go ahead. This hey, what happened to the question, Brass?
Oh, my fault. I'm gonna let Anthony jump in there and say something.
All
and then Bustero, I don't mind letting you up, but you gotta cam up in the back chat before I let you up. Go ahead, real quick, and then we'll get into the question.
All right,
you Savior, I will say this has been a success, no question. Go ahead.
First of all, question for Logic. Logic, where are you from?
New Orleans.
Huh?
New Orleans.
Okay, so are you Black American?
Yep.
So your family, your lineage is Black American.
Yeah.
Okay. You asked a question, and I thought it was a very good question, by the way. You said, what's the reason? And I kind of touched on this before. You said, what's the reason that, or why are people trying to gain?
The specific question was, what do they stand to gain?
That's a good question. Culture, and that's the point I make. Culture, you have to understand, culture is the lifeblood of a nation and of a people. It is the culture, okay? Black American culture is the culture of America. That's not an opinion, that's a fact. Black culture, what Black people created,
all of America,
is the culture of America. Okay, now the point I'm making is this: the world, Latinos, Caribbeans, Africans, you name it, they all want to come here. They want a stake in America. They want that. See, Black Americans have a very unique position in this country, is that we have a direct stake in America, and there's a certain degree of envy to that because we built this country. Okay, off the backs of slavery, and out of that slavery is where the culture of our music and where the culture of America comes from. That's a fact. So people want to have stake in that. So keep this in mind. Let me make this point real quick. You have blues, soul, jazz, and all these other different forms of music. No one else is fighting for any creative claim of that. You know why? Because Black Americans during that time, we were isolated. Okay, Latinos were not here in huge numbers, neither were Caribbeans. They just weren't here. They weren't even around. So we were isolated because Black and whites, guess what? We couldn't, my father went to an all Black school. You know, Blacks can only drink from this fountain. So we were isolated as a people. So they knew we created jazz. There's no argument on those things. Now, what happens during the late 60s and 70s, you have Puerto Ricans and Caribbeans moving, and then they come into the proximity of where we reside. And that's how, you see, the point, and that's the point. See, the culture of hip hop and hip hop music would have evolved just as fine, just like all those other musical genres evolved without any other input. So would have this. It is only due to the fact that they were able to move and reside in our proximity that they are now trying to crowbar their way into this cultural creation to give them a degree of stake in America. Did you see the Republic National Convention? They had Kid Rock on there, and what is he doing? He's rapping. You see, they can use Black music. Black music has always been used for presidential campaigns. You'll never hear Latino music, and you'll never hear Caribbean music used because it is not American.
So wait, let me slow you down. So what do they do with this stake in America? Like what benefit is it of them to have?
It's the benefit of them.
I'm kind of lost on that.
No, because once again, you have now ownership in this country. See, Black Americans have ownership in America. We own this motherfucker. And excuse me, I don't want to curse. We own this. There's an ownership claim here. We built it. You see, America is the most technologically advanced nation that has ever, it's the most powerful nation that has ever existed. And I studied all cultures, don't get me wrong, but as far as power and wealth, America is it. America is it. The world comes here. The world ain't going there. You know, everybody's coming here. So everybody wants a stake here. Latinos want a stake here. Africans want a stake here. Russians want a stake here. You don't see masses of people heading to Jamaica because there's nothing that we don't want to claim no stake in that. You understand what I'm saying? So everybody wants a stake. And one of the main ways that you can get a stake in this nation is that, hey, we created this or we built that. No one can question Black Americans' stake in America. This is America.
For some reason, I'm hearing you say that, but like in my head, I'm getting citizenship like that. They don't get citizenship that way.
Citizenship and that's a very good point. But citizenship and stake is a total different thing. When you have people that come in, once again, yeah, they come in with the citizenship.
Yeah, to put them both on the scale, is that stake more valuable than the citizenship?
Oh, absolutely.
In what way?
I'll give you an example. If you want to move to Japan, first of all, you can't even get citizenship in Japan. But if you move to Japan and you created one of the major cultural aspects of that nation, that gives you a stake in Japan. But they would never allow that. They would never allow that. This goes very deep. It goes very deep. Okay, you would not have a stake in Japan. You can maybe, and like I said, I don't even think they'd allow you to be a citizen. If I'm correct, if my history is correct, you can't even be a citizen of. They won't even allow you to be a citizen of Japan. So if you wanted to have a stake in Japan, you couldn't get it. You see, it's a stake in the country, or to have roots, or to say that I built this. Okay, that gives you claim to that nation. Everybody wants to stake a claim to America. That's why you got Vivek Ramaswamy, Indians, and all these other people trying to come here, because the opportunities and what this country affords and what it's built is very valuable. And it is culture that defines a nation. If you talk about India, the first thing coming to your mind is going to be the culture of that nation. But you can never go to India and go to India and try to stake a claim in India and see what happens to you.
You can become a citizen of Japan. It's very stringent. It's very difficult, but you can.
You might become a citizen of Japan, but you and I both know. Let's keep it a stack. Okay, they're not going to look at you as Japanese.
I agree with your point. I mean,
you understand? I'm just saying.
You to be correct. I understand fully what you're saying. I just wanted to just put that, the fact out. You can become it, but it's very, very stringent and difficult. And even after you've done it, a stake, I still don't think you would have.
You wouldn't. That's my case in point. Yeah. But America is a little bit more lax. It allows that a little bit more, and everybody wants a stake in it. You see, and that's ultimately what these. That's why even now, like when you saw KRS-One, he was talking. He said, "Yeah, Cubans were here, Dominicans were here." So what is he trying to say? What are you saying? Everybody has a stake in this culture. See, hip hop culture is what, as you said, it's American. It's not, when you say hip hop or rap, you ain't saying it's Caribbean. You ain't saying it's African. No, it's American. And that's what everybody wants a stake in. They want a stake in America. Best believe that. And that's
give me 1 second. All right, so listen, this is what I'm gonna do, because I'm gonna bring it home. This was not supposed to be a long conversation. We could do more conversations. We are about almost 2 hours. Listen, this is a dual stream on Truth Savior's channel and Tribe Media. We partnered up to do content. You're going to see a lot more lives. You're going to see a lot more content coming from Truth. Go back to yesterday. He had a quick discussion, about 30 minutes, on the Olympics and Black athletes. We're doing a live today. It's 130. We capped out at about 148 in the chat. I'm going to close on a question, right? And then y'all drop questions in the panel, because I do want to bring this in and about what we were talking about. I'm going to go to a quick commercial break, because here's the problem. It's 132 people in the chat, right? But they don't all follow Truth, and they don't all follow us, right? And that's the whole point. We're collaborating rather than competing to get to the top. We are business partners. So I'm going to play a quick commercial. There's a link pinned in the chat. If you're on our channel and you need to follow Truth, go do that. If you're on Truth Savior's channel and you need to go follow Tribe Media, do that so that we could put up the content, because eventually what will happen is Truth will be producing content over here. We'll be producing content over there. And we don't want any discrepancy. So I'm going to play a quick commercial. Then I'm going to go into the question. The link is pinned. Follow Truth Savior. Follow Tribe Media. We're looking for content creators. We're looking for people with topics. We're looking for people that want to get into social media or people with channels that maybe need a little help or a bigger platform. We want to show you how to do that. I'm going to play a quick commercial. The link is in the chat. Matter of fact, I'm going to pin it here also. And follow both channels. Just take a quick second, follow both channels, and then we're going to get into the final question. And Truth, I'm going to go first with you when we come back, because I want y'all to answer that question. Why then? Because none of you said that it started in 1973. And that's where all the money was, and that's where all the parties were. So I want to have a quick conversation as to why they went to that narrative. The link is in the chat if y'all want to come up and go to that question. We got about 20-30 minutes left in the show. Take a quick question, play a commercial, follow both channels right now.
Tribe Media, Tribe Media, it's DQ, baby. Tribe Media, check. Tribe Media innovations, we gotta wait. What? Took a little minute, was patient, but now we take it. Anytime we want this game, my situation is entertainment intertwined with information. Alchemist soul, how we move the tassel and roll. It's amazing how we can turn something brass to gold. And we steady making hits. Architect with the prop in the scripts. It's logical that the product will flip. My boy Chef did the lineup. I'm fresh in the bitch. Carnivorous podcast, the newest show on the list. DQ on the boat, so I'm rocking the ship. Squad the music gon' be dope and the artist legit. Hold my beard, concrete cord, then stepped in the door. See, that's my man and he reppin' for show. And true savior's a player with flavor. Lexicon Taylor, lines on point like a laser. We need that paper, we building the vault. Cause you niggas don't listen, y'all be waiting to talk. Lack accountability and try to make it our fault. But opposing us is trying to arm wrestle the hawk. You coming up short on your re-up, nigga we up. Really wouldn't want to be up. I kick my feet up. My beef is wagyu and my truck is all speakers. Bills is all blue and my blunt is all reefer. With possible deniability, that boy eater. High quality whack juice by the liter. They like to call us ops, we got Oppenheimer features. That's the bomb out on the island just to teach you.
All right, so we back at it. Let's get to the question. Hopefully you follow both channels. Like I said, if everybody, we talk about support. I want everybody to support my brother, True Savior. He's going on a much longer run. We about to have a lot more content. We're going to be discussing Kamala Harris on Tuesday and many other topics more than just hip hop. So, True Savior, I want you to answer the question.
We just going to act like we know what a stake in America is? Okay, let's keep it moving there. Let's go.
I didn't hear you. I can't see you. What'd you say?
I said we gonna act like everybody know what it is to have stake in America.
But that's his answer. We got to go around.
Let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving.
Yeah,
okay.
That's his answer. If you know what I'm saying, if we're gonna do conjecture on everybody's answer, what's the point of just asking the question? So I think Brass got more than one question. You know what I'm saying? That may be another show.
Yeah, because I don't want to, because that's why I want to get the brother Anthony, get the brother Yeshua, get their information. Because these are separate shows. We don't got to be here for 4 or 5 hours to flush this out every time. All right, so Truth, I need you to answer this question first. So the question is, and if people thought that the show was over, they'll come back. This ain't, we're not closing up shop today. It's all good. Why has the 1973 narrative dominated hip hop history for so long? And who benefits from this version of events?
Well, that's a tough question, but I'll try to answer it this way. For what I understand, her provided basically a safe environment for party goers that other people weren't able to do. Like, for example, Mario wasn't able to do that because he was he was a gangbanger, but he played music. There was certain places you couldn't go, you had risking getting your equipment robbed. You had to know people to have these parties outside, and so, but Hurt, he did a lot of his stuff inside. He didn't go with the gang culture, right? So it was a safe environment for so many people. Now, in 1990, when that Source magazine came out, and the so-called 3 founding fathers was tagged, there's a kind of revisionist history in terms of, okay, what was going on in these early years. And when they think about Hurt, you know, everybody had a good time. He had a nice system. He was playing some music. Everyone said he wasn't the best DJ in the world, wasn't the best mixer in the world, but it was a fun place to be for most party goers. And it was a safer environment. And so I think when they were crowned the three founding fathers, you kind of have to go back to what the so-called beginning was. And for some reason, I don't know how the 15th, 20th century Avenue story started, but clearly that was some point of reference. And like most things, it takes off from there. Everyone gravitates to that particular narrative, and it goes from there. I think was a Grand Mixer DXT spoke about that. He just, you know, they kind of just went with the narrative, you know, when that Source magazine picture was taken, and they just went with it. And so a lot of people just went with the narrative. And so it became a part of the history. Now we're looking into the history and we're saying, wait a second, that little party started everything? Impossible. And so I just think people get caught up into a feel-good story, and it just grows from there.
Yeshua, you haven't spoken in a while. I'm gonna let you answer that question really quickly. Why do you think the 1973 narrative dominated hip hop history for so long, and who benefits from this version of events? It's very important that y'all get that point too. Who benefits?
Well, no one benefits, because that goes back to the same question I asked before. I mean, I said before that we've been having the wrong narrative with the conversation, period. We don't want to go back to the founding fathers, who were the DJs of rhyming first, then bring it up to the modern time. We just don't want to do that. And that baffles me that we do that. Kool Herc wasn't the first black man to have a block party. They've been having block parties in the black community since the 50s. My grandmother used to talk about block parties. They used to have block parties. So he wasn't the first to have a block party. He wasn't the first to put a record on the turntable either. So I'm saying that this is the problem that we need to go back to. Be serious about the conversation. If we're serious about it, go back to the older DJs, or get in touch with some of these sons and daughters of these guys and bring them on, and they will tell you the stuff that we're talking about is like, really? I mean, they're actually probably say that to us, like, really, y'all? You know, our fathers laid the foundation so you can have rap music. Our fathers laid the foundation so we can have what they call the hip hop culture. I was never part of the hip hop generation. I was part of the rapping generation. I was the King Tim the Thirds and the Sugar Hill Gang, etc. Those was my Treacherous Street, Spoonie G. Those were my quote people that I call myself trying to dance to at that particular time. But I think that the 1973 year is something that I think, like the brother said, something that they ran with without knowing the true history or the origins of the idea of a black man getting on the mic rhyming. And I think that's the problem.
Okay, I appreciate that. Hits, what you got for me? Or did you want to go a little later?
No, I ain't go. This is okay. What's the question? Why 73 narrative? A few reasons, in my opinion. One, if you're gonna put it in books and all of that, and you would only do that once it becomes popular culture or a well-known culture, period. You it fits to be able to give that culture a place, date range or a date, and if you could, a person. So you got a date, you got a person, and you have a place. Fits good in books, fits good in museums, like Logic said, and a lot of information that's in academia is cross-referenced. A lot of hip-hop articles and things of that nature reference certain books, like Logic brought up, Can't Stop, Won't Stop. So you'll find that in a reference list of a lot of different articles and displays. Like, that doesn't mean they're not going to do their own research, but they go to similar places for similar information. Two, once something becomes pop culture, you add the dollar bill. You know, it works good to generate money. And 73 and Herc and all of that wouldn't be important until later because you don't have the term hip hop until later. So in 73, it wouldn't have been important. It wouldn't have been a big deal. You make it important later on when you get this term hip hop, when you get this genre of music, hip hop, when you get this quote unquote culture, hip hop. Now we got to retro or you know, that name all the way back. And you need a place and a person and a time. So there's a few reasons. Dollar bill fits good in books. And at that time it wasn't important. They took it and they made that important, you know. So, and what, hold on, I didn't see the rest of the question. Was that it? Just why is it important and what do they have to gain? I think I answered that.
I'm
Unless
sorry,
there was a
man.
second
I'll
part
put
to
it
the
back
question.
up. I'll put it back up. Give me 1 second.
I think I answered both parts.
Okay.
And who benefits from the version of
Who
event?
benefits by saying that it was 1973?
It depends on who is saying it and when they're saying it. So it's a dollar bill. It works good in books. It works good in a story and a museum and things like that. So a museum would benefit. Someone writing a book, because if I wrote a book that said, like I think Logic said earlier, I don't think he meant it directly that way. Somebody did something. Who's going to buy that book? Who's going to visit a museum? Who's going to quote that? Who's going to reference that? No one. Now, did they pull it out of thin air? I think someone mentioned the Source magazine is maybe one of the first times you get all three of them on a cover. I think Clark Kent had a dispute with that because he said he didn't make the photo shoot, or he would have been on the cover. But when he didn't make it happen, let it go. I think he's on Sway in the Morning when he stated that. No, not Clark Kent. Grand Mixer DXT.
Right.
I'm sorry, I said Clark Kent. So there's easy ways. Anybody who's documenting this, because again, somebody did something is not going to sell. It's not going to make no money. It's not going to make much sense.
Okay, Anthony, I'm gonna give you the opportunity to answer that question. Why has the 1973 narrative dominated hip hop history for so long, and who benefits from that specific version of events?
Okay, well, to answer that question, people like things simple. Okay, it's simple, it's packageable. You know, it's something that people can wrap their minds around. I wanted to say one quick thing. I want to give a shout out to True Saver. Yo, brother, I want to say that your work is awesome and appreciate what you're doing. I just wanted to say that here.
Thank you, brother.
But it makes it's packageable. You see what I'm saying? It's bite size. It's like it's something that it's almost like people ask about Trump. He just says simple things, and people can wrap their mind around simple. Oh, this started here at this time, at this place, and this. It's packageable. You see what I'm saying? It's not so subtle and complex. And the origin of hip hop is very subtle, and it's a lot more complex than that. So I feel that's the reason. It makes it very simple. Does that make it simpler for museums? It can make it simple for museums. Make it simple to write books. It just simplifies it, and people let's keep it 100. Let's keep it a stack. A lot of people are very, simple-minded. It is what it is. It works, and it makes it more packageable, more palatable, so to speak, where people can take on to it. To answer your question, once again, who benefits from it, and this goes back again because I think one brother had the question of what is a cultural stake. Okay, who benefits from that is that the Caribbeans at the time, who are the three people, they benefit from that. Okay. And just like a physical stake in something, you can also have what is known as a cultural stake. Okay. You cannot tell the history of America without mentioning Black Americans. Did you know that? You can't do that. That's cultural stake, because you cannot tell the history of this country without mentioning Black America. You can't. It's impossible, because we were part of the foundation. Slavery, the music, the culture. You cannot tell American history without you cannot leave Black Americans out of American history. We are part of the foundation of this country. That's not an opinion. That's not my point. That's just a historical fact. Now, when it comes to Latin and Puerto Ricans, you can tell us the culture. You can tell a story without them. Once again, this is what they want. They want the cultural stake. That stake is very valuable. It's actually more valuable than the physical stake. And it's kind of hard to explain, but that's what that is. You can have a physical stake, you can have an emotional stake, you can have a cultural stake. The culture of America is Black America. That's why I say you cannot tell the history of this nation without mentioning Black Americans. But that's what I'll say. That's who stands to benefit. And that's why they're going hard. Mexicans, Dominicans, everybody, because they want the stake in this stake in America. And you can't be a Black American, you can't deport a Black American under no way, shape, or form. You can't deport Black Americans out of America. Other groups can, trust me. An executive order can be written and those people will be out. Mark my word. That's just a fact. I'm just saying, if you know politics, and that's one of the reasons that immigrants or foreigners have a fear of Trump, because they know what Trump wants and he can make that happen. And they know he can make it happen. Okay? So it's the stake in America, that cultural stake to say, hey, we're part of this story too. Hip hop is a part of the story of America. That's a fact. And so people want that. They want to stake a claim because they want to what? They want to be here. That's why they're here. You see, you got to understand the motive. And that's what I mean. But I hope I made that a little bit more understandable, or a little bit more you grasp onto what I mean by a cultural stake, because culture is very valuable. If it wasn't, people wouldn't be trying to take it. It's generated billions of dollars. Black culture has generated trillions of dollars, not even billions, trillions of dollars.
All right, we got you. I'm gonna go Logic, then I'm gonna go Bustetto, and then we're gonna close. Go ahead, Logic.
I mean, based on the analogy that you used, that cultural stake in hip hop would be worthless if they could still be deported. They would have to take that cultural stake right back to where they came from, and celebrate their cultural stake there with no citizenship for America, and no representation from our law, so on and so forth. To me, it doesn't seem.
Hold on, he got to answer the question. Y'all just let him answer the question. So
yeah, go ahead. This question.
I forgot the question. I guess I was so anxious to answer. But what is it?
Why has the 1973 narrative dominated hip hop history for so long, and who benefits from this version of events?
I actually think the brother did a really good job when he answered that part of the question, because I think it's just a simple answer. Right. I think it's a baseline that people just use. But I think when you, as I'm attempting to do, I'm not in any way putting myself into a higher level of conversation. I'm really trying to have a conversation with everybody on here. But I'm saying that I have taken the time to, I guess, reach into the deeper level of conversation. And when you start talking about the hip hop as a culture, then it becomes a lot more sophisticated as far as how you date a culture. You don't date it in one day, one specific event. That's not how it's done. So if it's properly described as a culture, which I agree that it is, then you kind of you can use some baseline date, but that still, it doesn't tell the entire story of the birth of culture. So so that's the answer to that question. It says who benefits from it. I think people who aren't as interested in taking a deep dive into getting to the actual nuance of the conversation. I think they benefit the most because they have what they came for.
Who are you saying benefits the most? I apologize. I missed that.
People who would kind of like touch on just the surface of the conversation and not be so interested in to try to like take a deep dive as far as who are the players on the field at the time. I think that they benefit from it the most, right? People who are just looking for a simple answer. I think they benefit from it the most.
Okay, and Bustetto, I got to get you in here. Go ahead, and then I'm gonna let all of y'all close.
All right, cool. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, man. I had to turn off my AC, man. It's kind of hot here in the Bronx.
Are you in the Bronx right now?
Yeah. I live in the Bronx.
Okay, shouts to you. Go ahead, brother.
All right. The question, why has the 1973
No. You've been waiting for a while. Give a little recap of what you thought of, like some of the comments or some things you want to say, then answer the question. Take about 2-3 minutes.
Oh gosh, man, the show's been like 2 hours. Give a recap.
Yeah, I know.
I want to go in on logic, but I'm not. I mean,
awesome.
You know, I remember, not me, talking his stuff, and yeah, I just want to go in. I want to start.
No, I got your email.
Everything
That's what I want to do. I want to set up for a show because here's the thing. Knockmeezy actually mentioned you to me before, so that's why I was saying I want to go. I dropped your email. I'm gonna hit you up. We can do a separate show, but what then just go into the question and then I'll let you close. But you'll definitely be welcome back and let's do some content together. But why has the 1973 narrative dominated hip hop history for so long, and who benefits from this version of events? And they're saying, can you turn your volume up? They can't really hear you.
Turn it up. Oh wow.
Or talk louder. I don't know. They're saying they can't hear you in the chat.
I don't know if I can do that. How about now?
Yeah, we good. Go ahead.
Better.
All right, cool. All right, let me get real close to this microphone thing right here. I don't think the 1973 narrative has dominated hip hop for so long. I think that's kind of recent that 1973 narrative has has come about pretty much. And the reason why I say that is in the age of the internet, then you can have everyone say, here's this index card flyer, and people can start looking and seeing that, and then that starts to spread, and then it becomes the narrative because you actually have quote unquote proof, and it's just going around on the internet and no one's checking it. So I think that's rather recent. I remember like about 20 years ago when I actually met Kool Herc. I was over with a friend of mine who knows Kool Herc from back in the day. We were over at what's it called? Grant's Tomb. It was a jazz event. They had the Jazzmobile over there, and Grant's Tomb was over on the west side of Manhattan, over by like Riverside Park area. So we went over there, and I saw Kool Herc walking. And, I recognized him, but ain't nobody else recognized him. He was just walking. So I said to my homeboy, I said, yo, there goes Kool Herc. And he's like, where? He's looking. I said, look, right there. It's Kool Herc walking right there. So my homeboy yells, Herc. Herc turns around, looks, sees my homeboy. Oh, yells out my homeboy's name. And he comes over to us. Herc was like almost 25 feet away from us. He comes over to us, comes over to my homeboy, not us, because he didn't know me. He saw my homeboy. They hugged, embraced. Yo, what's up? How's it been? How's it going? They start chopping it up and everything. And I'm looking around and ain't nobody recognize her but me. And there were thousands of people out there. For those that know, back in the days, having the Jazzmobile over at Grant's Tomb, I think it was on Wednesday nights. This is like right around the time of Giuliani-ish, so to speak. A little bit before that. I think they still have the Jazzmobile. I'm not too sure about that. But no one really recognized Herc. And the same thing happened to me again. Me and my homeboy chilling in Harlem. We went to an event at the National Black Theater on 125th Street, not the newish one, but the old one before they tore it down and built some big type of condominium skyscraper thing they got going now. Mm-hmm. We were over there at some event, and I'm walking in there, and they got vendors at the tables, people vending, selling stuff before the event starts. And I look, and I'm like, yo, this dude looks familiar. So I'm looking at this guy. I'm saying,
and now date this. What date are you talking about?
This is like 20 years ago.
Okay.
20 years from now. Like 20 years going back. So I see this guy at the table. He's selling stuff. He's got, African things and whatnot. And I'm looking at his face. I'm like, wait a minute. That's Bambaataa. I said, what's Bambaataa doing here selling? What's he doing being a vendor selling stuff here? I said, it don't make any sense. So I tell my homeboy, yo, is that Bam? And he goes, where? And he's looking. This is the same homeboy who knows Kool Herc. He looks and he goes, oh shit, yo, that's Bam. He goes, yo, Bam, what's up? Him and Bam embrace. I get introduced to Africa Bambaataa. So I'm like, how is it that this so-called narrative thing that people are talking about, I think that's rather new. You could trace it back not even to the Source magazine, but even that, the Source magazine. If you look online to DJ Kool Herc's actual website, and you click on his sister, Cindy Campbell, first lady of hip hop, it says. I don't know how she's the first lady of hip hop. I don't know what she did to become the first lady of hip hop, but that's what it says. You go down, you read what she has there under achievements. It says the Source magazine 50th collector's issue front cover was put together by her. So when you think about it and you say, okay, well, she put that cover together. She's Herc's manager. She's saying she's the, first lady of hip hop. I don't know who gave her that title. Mm-hmm. I would rather go with, maybe Sharrock or someone, something like along those lines, or maybe one of the Smokey dancers, female dancers, maybe. But she says she's the first. I don't know what her credentials are to say that. Other than being Kool Herc's sister, and it was supposedly her birthday party or party for her to get money so she can buy clothes to go to school. You got people trying to stake their claim, like Anthony Whitaker was saying, and others. It's big business now. It's big money now.
So you're saying that has a lot to do with why they would, what the benefit is per se.
Yeah, because Herc, I don't know if y'all saw online, I think it was Sotheby's or was it Christie's? They were auctioning off a lot of his memorabilia, which didn't make sense to me because supposedly him and his sister were building a hip hop museum in Jamaica. So why are you auctioning off the stuff you should have in the museum in Jamaica? It didn't make sense to me. Still doesn't make sense to me. Why are you auctioning it off? Shouldn't that stuff be, preserved? Why are you selling it to someone over in Europe? Why are you selling it to someone over in Saudi Arabia? Why are you selling it to someone, in Japan? Like, what are you doing? So it doesn't make sense, So, even the hip hop museum in the Bronx, how come you're not donating it to them? Why are you selling it? If you're making your museum, if you are supposedly who you say you are, why are you selling it? Why? I don't understand that. That throws me right there. But I remember a video I had done, and Dancing Doug shed some light for me. He said Herc was Trixie's mother's DJ, and Trixie is the quote unquote first breakdancer, King Trixie, at Kool Herc's parties. I saw Trixie. I didn't get a chance to speak with him really because I was filming. And the next time I see him, I'm going to ask him to elaborate on that a little bit more, because Dancing Doug said it. I want to actually ask Trixie and get it straight from him, because there's another clip with Trixie saying, you know, Herc came around us 68, 69. You know, he started hanging with us, going to parties, church parties, and then you could begin to see where Herc gets it from, where it comes from, really. And then Herc even adds the part about DJ John Brown, hanging out with Fate 2, and being a break dancer and being a graffiti artist. So all of this is happening before 73, the so-called party in 73. That Timmy Tim is on the flyer, but Timmy Tim didn't know Herc then, so that's why a lot of that is called into question. It's like, wait a minute, it says Timmy Tim on here, but he didn't know Herc then. So yeah, what is this? You know, but again, it's marketing almost. It's you know, it's nice to say that, hey, this is the exact date and time and place that something started or began, you know. And I think that's the issue that a lot of people are having. People talk about the Disco King Mario, they talk about the 21 Days of Summer happening in July. In 73, Herc's party happened in August 73. So, okay, one of the things I would like to do is, okay, if the 21 Days of Summer happened in 73 in July, where are the permits? Let's go get the permits. There should be a record of it somewhere downtown in New York City, somewhere in the official records. It should be.
All right, so
you know,
real quick, let me ask you a question. And then I'm gonna land the plane, bring it home. We've been 2 hours, 40 minutes. We could do another show. Let me ask you a question. I love all of that kind of stuff because you're actually in the Bronx. You actually have met the man and had conversations with him. So I appreciate that. Whoever that is clicking in my ears, stop. My quick question to you would be, when, I'm gonna ask you the same question I asked everybody else. Now, Truth says hip hop started between 77, 78, BX Bronx, Brooklyn. Hold on one second. All right, so Truth says hip hop started in 77, 78 in the BX Brooklyn and by FBA. Logic says hip hop started in 79 in the Bronx, multiculturally. Hits says it started 80, 83 by African Americans NYC. I talked to Anthony, I talked to Yeshua. They're saying you got to kind of go back almost to the 40s to at least begin to have this conversation. It doesn't necessarily have a date, but you got to go pre all of that. Where do you stand with where did hip hop start and when?
Where
in your mind, in your mind, where does it start? Yes, in your mind.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Go ahead.
Based upon the research,
yes,
it's hard to pinpoint exactly when and where it started. I would say me growing up as a kid in New York City, I remember listening to my mother's music.
Give me a date, brother.
1970. 1970. I'm trying to think the exact date. 1970. 1974. 1975.
Okay, so hold on. So hip hop started in your mind 1974.
No. I'm giving you an exact date of what I was doing.
No. Just give me a date for your hip hop. Those three questions.
Date for my hip hop.
Yeah. Who? Okay. When did it start? Give me a date.
I can't nail down a date. I would have to say the 70s.
Okay, the 70s. So anywhere in that 10-year period. Not necessarily 73, but anywhere in that 10-year period.
I would say that. But all the elements were already there, though. All the elements go back before that.
Okay, so 70s. I can go with that. 70s.
Yeah.
Now, where?
I would have to say it's a toss-up between the Bronx and Manhattan.
Okay, so the Bronx and Manhattan, so NYC. That's similar to what his said.
Yeah, NYC.
Now, here's the most important question: Who?
Who?
Not a person. It could be me a race, but I need a person or a race or a group of people. Who?
Oh, you said it could be a person or a race or a group of
It could
people.
be like, if you want to say Cool Herc, if you want to say FBA, if you want to say multicultural, you could do that. But you gotta land your so right now.
I would say FBA. I would say FBA.
Okay, so we got the 70s in NYC by the FBA. Does that frame it enough?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Stop right there. So now we're gonna close the show on this. I'm gonna let all my brothers close out. Truth, I think it's been a good show, but I don't want to go 3 hours because I gotta clip this show and create shorts. So, Truth, I'm not trying to like put you to the whatever, but I want you to close the show because this is also on your channel. So I'm gonna go back. Bustetto, drop your I got your email. I'm gonna be contacting you tomorrow. I definitely want to do some content with you. Anthony, I see the first part of your email is the end of that gmail.com. Just check the
I'm gonna sonofpatai@gmail.com. I'm gonna text it to True Saver.
Okay, text it to Truth. He'll give it to you. All right, pause. All right, so Logic hits. I'm gonna let y'all go. Matter of fact, Anthony, give me 2 minutes real quick. Close. We're gonna do future content, so you don't gotta.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I'm not gonna. I just want to say one quick thing, real quick.
Go ahead. 2 minutes.
A brother in the chat just dropped something. I think his name is Jersey Devos.
Okay, yeah, he's one of my mods. I appreciate it. What's up, Jersey?
He mentioned Clark Kent. Now, do you know that the Clark Kent we talk about? He's not the original Clark Kent, right? You do know that.
He's not up here. I don't know. I'm using my Clark Kent like Biggie's Clark Kent.
The guy that we know today is Clark Kent.
The guy who discovered Biggie.
Yeah, Brass. Yeah, that's
Okay, yeah. You gotta remember, I don't know
now.
He
that's the one now.
By no way, shape, or form is the original Clark Kent. I confronted him about this. Now he knows this. The original
Panamanian Clark Kent.
Huh?
The Panamanian Clark Kent.
Yeah, he ain't. No. I don't even call him Clark Kent because he's not it. And this is what I'm telling you when it comes to cultural stake. Pay very close attention to what I'm saying. That is not the original Clark Kent. The original Clark Kent is a man by the name of Tyrone Smith. I know him personally. Okay? So he goes around copying the history and the culture of the original Clark Kent. And he wants to act like, he's talking about, he met James Brown, this and this and this. He's very disingenuous. You see? And I just wanted to make that point. And this is one of the points I'm making. See, Clark Kent, the original Clark Kent that was a DJ with Cool Herc, who was also a breakdancer, is a Black American. His name is Tyrone Smith. And he's on the fly. So when you see Clark Kent on those flyers, it ain't referring to that Panamanian. That ain't him. Let's be very clear about that. See, a lot of people don't know that. See, y'all didn't even know that. This is what I'm talking about. Who stands to benefit? Who stands to benefit?
So it's not him.
Hell no.
Okay. Shouts to him. I think
and
it's his birthday.
The reason I say that,
find a picture of him.
The reason I say that, that's Clark Kent.
That picture was him. That picture was him.
That's Clark Kent.
Okay,
that picture was him. Yeah.
Hold on. Let me put it back up. Shouts to now the original Clark Kent was Superman, but I digress. I'm gonna let y'all have that. But the original Clark Kent was this is so happy birthday to the original DJ Clark Kent.
That's Clark
of Cool Herc and the Herculords, one of hip hop's earliest prolific DJs and one of its most important practitioners. Wish him a happy birthday. This is the guy you talking about, Anthony?
Yeah, that's the original Clark Kent. He was the one who actually gave Cool Herc the second copy, I believe, of Apache, because Herc only had one copy at the time. So it was his idea to give Herc the second copy. He gave it to him, I believe, as a birthday present to Cool Herc. So it was his idea to say, hey, why don't you use 2 records of the same song and you can mix at the same time. That was his idea.
Yeah, I'm back. Hello?
Okay, good. You back.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, my wife had called. What I was saying, is
that him on the screen? No, look at the screen.
That's Clark Kent.
Okay, go ahead.
That's
I wanted just to make sure we knew who he was.
Yeah, that's Clark Kent. But he's the original one. But the people that most people think today, that ain't the original Clark Kent. I mean, most people think that's the Panamanian, but that's the point I'm making. The cultural stake in this country. And he knows that most people don't know this. As a matter of fact, he was confronted about it and didn't want to admit to it. And that's who he's appropriated, and that's the stake that he's claiming. That's just a fact. Matter of fact, the original Clark Kent was on the show, and he was talking about that. And the sad thing about it is that the guy that's portraying himself as Clark Kent today, he wouldn't be hurt if he said that, yo, he was impressed with the name, he loved the name, he wanted this, that, and the other, and give original props to who it belongs to. I mean, it's not a big deal, but this is what I'm saying. This is what people do when they want to take and steal claims. This is what they want to do. This is the type of stuff that happens, and this is what I'm talking about. You know, a cultural stake, and that's exactly what that brother did. That's exactly what he did. There's another point I want to make. It just slips my mind, but anyway, I'll land my plane there. It's just that when the brother put that up on the chat, it just clicked up in my brain and said, hey, this is what I mean. You see what I'm saying? When somebody takes something that's theirs, and this is what they stand to benefit. Look at what he's actually created a career off that name, and that was one of the coolest DJ names ever. Clark Kent, hands down. Clark, that's one of the coldest names. You know, when I hear that name, it brings back me, because I was born in the Bronx. I'm from Soundview. So when I see his name like on those old flyers, and you see Kool Herc and Clark Kent, he's going on thinking he's making it seem like he's the Clark Kent, and he's not. You know what I'm saying? This is the type of stuff I'm talking about. Anyway, okay, I'm gonna land my plane there.
All right, we'll definitely be contacting you. Welcome to stay up through the end of the show. We'll contact you within the next day.
All right.
Yeshua, give me 2 minutes of your time, pause, and just land your plane and say something in closing before I get to my brother Hits Logic with closing the show with True Savior. Go ahead, Yeshua. You're on mute, brother.
Thank you for letting me share my little bit scholarship, you know, but what I want to add to this as well, that the Black people, whether you FBA, a Pan-Africanist, or whatever the case might be, we come from a tradition of griot, and that griot, those griots were, they told stories. So for Black folk to rap was nothing new. That was in our blood. That was in us to do that. That's in us to tell stories about the streets, the environment, and what we see, our experiences. That's in us to do that. We come from that griot spirit, those griots who was brought over, or disagreement or not, was brought over within those slave ships. And some of those brothers were griots, and they told these stories all the time. So that's what this rap also has its origins at. So again, I want to say thank you. Again, to my Puerto Rican brothers, who also are partly people of African descent. But I want to say to you, it's okay just to be participants. We're not saying you guys are bad. We're not saying anything wrong about you guys, but you're not the innovators of this thing called rap or rhyming, or this culture that was personified here in America by these people with these kinky hair. That was not you, and that's how I gotta say that, bro. But thank you again, brother.
I appreciate you. All right, my brother's Hits, my brother Logic. We're gonna close with True Savior. Hits or Logic, whichever one. Matter of fact, go ahead, Hits, because I'm gonna keep this Logic and True Savior thing going. See if they can kill each other in their closings. Go ahead, get out. I hope you got it, Logic. Go ahead, Hits.
My closing statement is what it's been throughout. I'm gonna share my screen. I think this is in line. It's from Wikipedia with what I've been stating. Hip hop is a culture. I don't know why they had both of them in here. And an art movement that was created by African Americans. And I'm just reading this because it's written better than how I would say it, you know. Starting in the Bronx, New York, pioneer from Black American street culture, and that had been around for years prior to its more mainstream discovery, later reached other groups such as Latino Americans and Caribbean Americans. And that's my closing statement, that hip-hop music and culture is a continuation of African American culture that other people participated in. And thank you all, whoever said The current Clark Kent is from well, he's not, I don't think he's from Panama. He might be, but or his origins, I did not know that, right?
Yeah,
So
he's from Panama. He was born in Panama.
okay, I'm gonna share one more screen real quick in my 2 minutes. I ain't gonna jam it in there. I'm just gonna share my screen.
Let me get one comment after you.
Yeah, and it's not gonna be Panamanian music because we could easily do that too. But I just want to go. Where's my? It's a window actually, and if you can make my screen a little bit bigger, just let me. Okay, there we go. And when we talk about music from other cultures and with definitely African roots in South America, Central America, the Caribbean, here in North America, obviously, I just picked Brazil because I think most people know outside of Africa, Brazil is like one of the most heavily African influenced countries there is. Here is some of their genres of music. Anybody, there's more than 30 here. But if we look at things like rock, Brazilian hip hop, Brazilian jazz, gospel music, I don't think anyone on this panel, including the detractors, would say that hip hop started in Brazil. That rock started in Brazil. The jazz started in Brazil. The gospel music started in Brazil. Jazz, I don't think people would say jazz started in Brazil. Funk, I don't think we would say over here on the left. I don't have my cursor on. I apologize. Trap music, that's a part of Brazilian music. I don't think anyone would say trap music started in Brazil. So just like we would not do that there, and I believe they would even say, or we would say, this is their culture with a jazz, how they would do hip hop when hip hop got there, or when jazz got there, or when gospel got there, or when trap got there, or when funk got there. Carnival. I thought there was one more main genre. No, we'll just go with that. Samba and things like that. But we wouldn't say we created Brazilian hip hop. We wouldn't even look at that, or Brazilian jazz. So it's a take on something that was created and they added to it. I look at hip hop culture the same way. It's African American culture, continuation from how we dance, how we talk. Oh, let me stop sharing. My bad. How we dress for the most part, the music we listen to, and the different other aspects of African American culture. And peace to the chat. Thank you all for coming out and behaving for the most part. Definitely appreciate that. All the guests who came up on the panel. We look forward to doing more content with y'all. Definitely appreciate that. Go ahead, DQ, jump in there, bro.
Yeah, been the been the youngin on the panel, sitting back and watching the elders speak their information. I'm just soaking up game. I'm just gonna leave it with this. Hip hop is an acronym. What my father taught me. Hip hop, higher information, purposely helping oppressed people. And I'm gonna drop it right there. Appreciate everybody.
Logic, go ahead. It's to you, DQ. Where my brother Logic at?
I'm right here, bro.
All right, come on, Kim up. So you speak your piece, because I can't tell which tri-media you are. Which logo you are.
Hold up. I got you. Let me share my screen though. So I actually like how I like this. At least this starts to take our opinions out of the game, right? Now, I went here and I actually checked out what he's talking about. I'm not gonna pay for an old newspaper. It looks like they're sourcing some stuff from the 1980s here. But that's what the two sources that Wikipedia is using when they say it's a purely African American culture. Now, with that being said, I brought us some newer sources, some stuff that's a little bit more academically related, and whether we agree with it or reject it, I want everybody to know. I think it was a really good conversation. I thought it was really productive and cordial, right? I think that's something that we need more of when we had these type of conversations. I think the information can get a little contentious, but as long as there's no you know, I don't like when these combos get a spirit of like love lost or something like that. Like to me, it's just information. I feel like it's unfortunate if you have to tie more of that into it than that. But like for me, it's just information, right? I don't mind reading and researching. When I do these conversations, I attempt to be correct, right? And I can only give my correctness from some sort of a baseline that I'd have to put above myself. So I can't hold my own opinion in such high regard to where now I got to throw out what the museum says, to now where I got to throw out what people who are considered historians by academics. I can't just remove what their opinion and what their resources and all those kind of things say. So that's hard for me, right? That might be easy for you. For me, that's actually very, that's somewhat difficult. I gotta at least lean towards something, right? And leaning away from my, just my discretion when there are other people with more time on their hands, considered professionals. I tend to go with them, right? I don't think that they're right all the time, but if we can prove them wrong, I say let's do it, and then put it somewhere so I can read it. I think that'd be great. And I think, then we'd have something to pass on and for other people in the field to actually scrutinize rather than, just holding our own opinions in such high regard. But that's my little two-piece, man. I'm actually glad to, have the conversation, especially with you, True Savior, man. I think you make some really strong points, and we can agree to disagree and not at least for me, I don't harbor any bad feelings about you. I just might disagree with some of your points of views on stuff. I don't think that makes you a terrible person. I'm sure you probably be probably make a wonderful conversation over a cup of coffee or something like that. But it's okay. Nice to meet you. I'm glad everybody came out, and I appreciate the time to talk, man. Shout out to y'all.
All right, the man of the hour. Shouts to True Savior. This is True Savior's second live, and he topped out pause at 150 people watching. It's safe to say, we truth. I met this brother about a month ago on the shows, and I immediately put it in my Rolodex. I have to be a partner of True Savior. I have to, because he has a lot to say, but it's actually good information. It's sourced information. He hates it when you call him an expert, but he definitely has an educated perspective on this, and I couldn't leave him out. And I'm really enjoying this partnership. I think it's fire. I think we got many more good shows to come. Be on the lookout for the show Tuesday. Truth, take us out. You're on mute, boss.
I see not coming. Okay, there we
go. Go ahead. You're off mute. Go ahead. You good.
There we go. All right. Shout out to you, Brass, for the kind words, and shout out to Logic and Hits, and definitely shout out to my brothers, Anthony Whitaker and Bussetto. These are some brothers that I correspond with constantly. Constantly, I correspond with these brothers. Excellent brothers. I'm sure they would be an excellent addition. You'll love them, in terms of what they have to offer. Bussetto on the technical side, not only on the technical side in terms of computer whiz, a genius on the computer, along with the knowledge that he has. This brother has a wealth of information. So does Anthony. I'm so happy to see him as part of this program. But let me go and say this in closing. Shout out to the chat. Thank you guys for watching and providing your information and your questions. But let me say this, in reference to hip hop being multicultural, I think it may be a stumbling block for Logic, and I know we may never agree on this, but I'm hoping that he understands this. In order for it to be a multicultural creation, you have to show evidence of a cultural contribution. It's really that simple, and this is where I come from. And so I think if Logic could get past that hurdle, if he could identify cultural contributions, then I welcome that kind of conversation. But absent of those contributions, you can never say it's a multicultural creation. That's the bottom. That's the metric that we have to be honest with. And you know, we often, when you read these articles and these museum articles and things online or websites online, they want to be inclusive. That's the whole nature of it, being inclusive. This is what Bambaataa started when he named it hip hop culture. When he named these elements, he named graffiti as part of being inclusive. So by that very nature, that very definition, made it inclusive. And once it became inclusive, then everybody felt they had a part of this creation. You'll hear people today will say, well, graffiti is the first element of hip hop. Half of these brothers weren't doing no graffiti back in the day, but this was a way to include everyone. And so when you look at these articles, be mindful of that this is all about inclusion. All we're saying is, don't get it twisted. The creation of it and the progenitors of this culture clearly points to Black American culture. Without question, if you can't identify nothing from another culture that was present in the 70s, you cannot say is multicultural. You cannot say it. When you think of the words multicultural, always think about don't only focus on multi, focus on the culture. What are the cultural contributions? All right. So I know that me and Logic may never agree, but that's okay. That's okay. I can live with that. But hopefully he'll understand that, you know, you can't believe in everything you read. You have to do your own. You have to be a critical thinker. Just because someone says that I'm a scholar doesn't make that person right. Challenge that person's perspective. And does it line up? Does it make any sense? And if it doesn't make any sense, then question it and try to arrive at a different conclusion. Okay, with that, I'm done. And so, again,
right,
thanks to the chat.
Stay around for 1 second. I just want to do one thing for Bustetto. Give me 1 second, and then I'll close.
I don't speak Spanish. I was born in Riobao. Okay, 13. I don't speak Spanish. From the beginning of this culture, like it was what you would naturally call Black folks and Spanish folks. This is not a one-trick pony. It was not a Black thing. It was a Black and Latino disenfranchised people from the hood.
It was at this moment that he knew he fucked up.
You lying? I've never lied.
Flashback. I'm a DJ because my grandmother loved a song called Happy Landings. And I learned how to use the stereo. And I would turn the record on every time she came in the house. She would be happy. And I was like, this is it. Bruh. I learned.
Hilarious. That's fire. Hey, we gonna hit you up, man. That is hilarious. Hey, Bustetto, we got business. I definitely want to link with you. That is hilarious. And
that's masterful.
Anthony, I'm gonna hit you up too.
Yeah, that's masterful, Bustetto.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful. You can't do it better. Hey,
Bustetto's the man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, Bustetto's the man for that one. Hang around for a second after the show. Truth, I just want to wrap up in the post show real quick.
All right, fellas, take care.
Hey, G Media. It's DQ, baby. Media. Check. Try media innovations, we got them wait. What? Took a little minute, was patient, but now we take it. Anytime we want this game, our situation is entertainment intertwined with information. Alchemist soul, how we move the tassel and roll. It's amazing how we can turn something brass to gold. And we steady making hits. Architect with the prop in the scripts. It's logical that the product will flip. My boy Chef did the lineup, I'm fresh in the bitch. Carnivorous podcast and newest show on the list. DQ on the boat, so I'm rocking the ship. While the music gon' be dope and the artist legit. Hold my beard, concrete cord, then stepped in the door. See, that's my man and he reppin' for show. And true savior's a player with with flavor. Lexicon Taylor, lines on point like a laser. We need that paper, we building the vault. Cause you niggas don't listen, y'all be waiting to talk. Lack accountability and try to make it our fault. But opposing us is trying to arm wrestle the hawk. You coming up short on your re-up, nigga we up. Really wouldn't want to be up. I kick my feet up. My beef is wagyu and my truck is all speakers. Bills is all blue and my blunt is all reefer. With possible deniability, that boy eater. High quality whack juice by the liter. They like to call us ops, we got Oppenheimer features. That's the bomb out on the island just to teach you.
I'm bugging.